A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all-old-time radio.
Bells. Stand by all stations.
Attention, all districts. A 5-alarm fire. 5 bells. Move in immediately.
That's it. Let's roll. Let's go. Firefighters.
Presenting Firefighters, the true-to-life story of our unsung heroes who stand ready to ride by day or night against our most murderous enemy, the demon of fire. In just a minute, we'll join Tim Collins, rookie fireman, in Chief Cody's car. The chief is about to explain a plan that has just come to mind. A plan for making use of the services of the Tennacombe Towboat Company in the interest of the fire department. But before we hear what Chief Cody has to say, here's another message of importance. Let's go, firefighters. Let's go to meet Chief Cody and Tim Collins as they ride in the chief's car toward the rookie fireman's post of duty with Engine Company 209. Only a few moments ago, you remember, Chief Cody exchanged hot words with Eustace Tennacombe, owner of the Tennacombe Towboat Company. And now, Tim wonders out loud about...
Chief Cody, you know something? Well, back there at the dock when you ordered me to get Tennacombe from his office, I had the idea you were mad enough to bite his head off.
Well, I was. A man in his position permitting a fire hazard like that. Letting his men dump hot ashes and live coals on a wooden dock.
Yes, sir. You think Tennacombe will cooperate now?
He will, when he realized that his carelessness might have cost him one of his precious tugboats. You saw how he changed his tune.
Oh, that's right, sir. He couldn't do enough for us.
Yeah. Tim, there's a story in the afternoon papers about the fire department.
The fire department, sir?
Well, not really. It's about a man or a group of men. They're out to make trouble for the department. For me.
For you, Chief Cody?
Yeah, we have to fight more than fire sometimes.
Oh, if anybody's looking for a fight, sir, just point him out.
And it's not as simple as that, son. You know the Rainbow House.
Rainbow House?
Down in the center of the city. Oh, you must have eaten there at one time or another.
Rainbow House. Oh, yes, sir. That's the big restaurant, kind of a nightclub, and they have half a dozen different rooms for dinners, class banquets, and things like that.
Yeah, that's the place.
Uh-huh.
Belongs to a man named Lippett.
Yes, sir. He does a lot of business there.
He's an important man, and he's out to make trouble.
Oh. Could you give me a size up on the situation, Chief?
Not yet, Collins. I'm going to need your help, and you'll see why when I ask for it. But first, you can size things up for yourself.
Oh, but even a hint, sir.
Collins, before I ask your help in this matter, you've got to make up your own mind about whether I deserve it.
Oh, Chief Cody, you can count on me anytime, for anything.
No, son. You've got to see that story in today's paper before you decide. Now, as soon as you go off duty, get along home and study that paper. You'll see what I mean.
Hey, Collinses, I'm home. Hey, nobody here?
Only me, Tim.
Oh, hiya, Jimmy. Where are you?
Here in the living room.
Uh-huh. Hey, where's the newspaper? Hasn't it come yet, Jimmy?
There on the table.
Huh? Oh, yeah, I see it. Hey, where's Mom?
Over at the Riley's. And Trudy's at a meeting. The Ghastly Girls or the Girlish Schools. You know that club they have.
Ah, here it is. Plastered all over the front page. Oh, just look. Hey, Jimmy.
Here I am.
Well, what were you doing under the sofa?
Eating an apple.
Are you crazy?
Who, me?
Eating apples under the sofa.
Well, listen, I had to get my civics book, didn't I? And that's where I chucked it last night. And I was eating an apple when I crawled under after it, so I stayed there to finish the apple. 'Cause if I came out, I'd have to start studying my civics book. And besides, under the sofa, that's a swell place to think. What's crazy about that? Oh, hey, look. Chief Cody.
Oh, yes, Chief Cody. All over the front page of the paper.
Cody ruling threat to business. What's that mean, Tim? Who's Chief Cody threatening?
Read this bit here.
Veteran fire chief plots ruin, claims restorator.
That means a man that runs a restaurant, Jimmy.
Oh.
This man Lippett, he claims Chief Cody's trying to run him out of business. Let's see. Unwarranted attack, oppressive measures.
Gee, Chief Cody must have done something terrible to him.
I can't figure it out. Here's this Lippett. He demands a public hearing. Says the chief is trying to ruin him. Cody threatens to close the Rainbow House if Lippett won't obey the fire laws. Oh, so that's it.
Close what? Tim, what's he gonna close?
The Rainbow House. That's a big kind of...
Oh, hey, no. Chief Cody can't do that.
Oh, that's what you think. If this man won't comply with the fire laws, why...
But the Rainbow House... Gosh, plenty of people are going to be sore if Chief Cody doesn't look out.
Well, plenty of people are sore already from the tone of this newspaper story.
Oh, he can't do it. Gosh, not the Rainbow House.
Wait a minute. What's it to you, Jimmy? Where'd you ever hear about this restaurant?
Well, golly, that's where we're going to have our class banquet.
You kids from Northside School?
They all voted, and let's have a banquet downtown this year. We'll all chip in, they said. We'll rent one of those rooms they have at the Rainbow House.
Well, at this fire trap?
Who says it's a fire trap? Only Chief Cody. And I'm the treasurer, too.
You mean you're supposed to be the one that rents the room for this turnout?
Yes, for the class. Golly, that's what I was thinking about just now. Under the sofa. How I gotta talk to this Mr. Lippett and fix it up about the room. And maybe a jukebox and all. Gosh, now Chief Cody does this to me.
Well, if many of the people that read this paper think the same way you do...
What else can they think? I bet Chief Cody gets into hot water right up to his neck, closing the biggest restaurant in town.
Well, he hasn't closed it yet.
But he's going to, if Mr. Lippett doesn't get the mayor to stop him, it says here.
But, look, as long as he hasn't closed it, Jimmy, you'll go ahead with your plans, won't you?
What's the good? Besides, I was kind of scared. Going downtown all alone to talk to the man that owns the biggest restaurant in town, like it says in the paper.
No, don't be scared, Jimmy. I'll change my clothes and go along with you. And listen, no mention of my connection with the fire department, huh? Now, let's go. I think we've just got time enough before Mom and Trudy get home.
Well, now, if that meets your price, Mr. Collins, I think we can strike a bargain.
Yes, Mr. Lippett.
50 guests, choice of 3 desserts, and you let me know 2 days in advance after your class votes as to how many cases of ginger ale.
Yes, Mr. Lippett.
And you want the room with the solid gold piano.
I didn't honestly think it was solid gold. Not all the way through.
Certainly not. Well, my young friend, I think our business is completed.
Yes, Mr. Lippett.
Oh, just one thing more.
Oh, yes?
Well, I was just wondering, Mr. Lippett. It's quite a responsibility catering to these boys and girls, 50 of them, packed into one of your rooms for a whole evening.
Well, I think your brother will have no complaint about our service, sir.
It wasn't the service I had in mind.
Well, my dear young man, every night on the average, we entertain capacity crowds in our Rainbow Club.
Yes, sir, we saw it downstairs.
Yes, well, capacity is 600, Mr. Collins. And in these rooms upstairs, as many as 600 more. And I may say that no complaint about our service.
Oh, I've heard all about your service, Mr. Lippett. It's the decorations that I was...
Oh, the decorations, yes. The rainbow motif. Yes, our decorators have carried it out throughout the building.
Golly, it's beautiful. Those draperies and... Gosh, I never saw ceilings like that before. All shiny cloth. Just like a real rainbow.
And just about as flimsy. They've been fireproofed, of course.
I beg your pardon?
Well, those flimsy draperies all over the place. You must have had them treated with fire-resistant chemicals.
I see. You've been reading the papers.
Oh, why, yes, I have, Mr. Lippett. And I wondered if
You've been reading these ridiculous charges, this malign attack on my enterprise by that...
Who's he mean, Tim? What's he mad about? Golly, we didn't do anything.
Well, the man has gone too far. If you want the facts, I'll tell you what I think of that jack in office. I'll tell you what that conceited, overbearing scoundrel did to me. I'll tell you the facts about Chief Robert Cody.
Now, there's a situation. Mr. Lippett, proprietor of the Rainbow House, has let his tongue run away with him. Not knowing that Tim Collins is in reality a member of the fire department in civilian clothes, and far from suspecting that Tim and his brother Jimmy are close friends of the department chief, the infuriated Mr. Lippett is about to heap scorching condemnation on the absent Chief Cody. For the next development in this conflict of rising tempers, listen to our next true-to-life episode of The Firefighters. In just a moment, Chief Bob Cody will tell you, boys and girls, how you can help the firefighters in your own town. But first, here's a message you ought to hear. And now, Chief Bob Cody with a special assignment for the Firefighters Brigade. Chief Cody.
Boys and girls, this is Chief Cody with your special assignment. Firefighters, attention. Each of you is to inspect the wiring of floor lamps and other electrical equipment in your home. Pay special attention to the wiring of lamps. Remember, a lighting cord which is worn or badly twisted is a hazard. And also a lamp cord which passes under a rug, subject to the wear and tear of passing feet, is particularly dangerous. Electricity is a good friend, but defective lighting and other electrical cords of any type turn this good friend to a dangerous enemy, ready to strike in the form of fire. Well, that is all. Goodbye for now, and you'll hear from me soon.
Fire Chief Cody and the young rookie fireman, Tim Collins, will be back on the same station the next time you hear...
That's it. Let's roll. Let's go, Firefighters.
Pepsi-Cola, P-E-P-S-I. That's your smartest cola buy. Pepsi-Cola presents Counterspy.
Washington calling David Harding, Counterspy. Washington calling David Harding, Counterspy.
Harding, Counterspy. Calling Washington. United States Counterspies, especially appointed to investigate and combat the enemies of our country, both at home and abroad. Tonight, the case of the international Intrigue. Another Counterspy report to the American people. Brought to you each Tuesday and Thursday by Pepsi-Cola. Pepsi-Cola hits the spot. Truthful glasses, that's a lot. Lots more value, lots more zest. Why take less when Pepsi's best? And now it's proved. Pepsi's best. Because Pepsi and only Pepsi gives you more bounce to the ounce, more real value, and quick food energy ounce for ounce than any other leading cola drink. No other leading cola can say that. Proven highest quality. And homogenized for finer, smoother flavor. More bounce to the ounce. That's Pepsi. Listen later in this program for a sensational special offer. Meanwhile, remember, get more bounce to the ounce. Get delicious, ice-cold Pepsi-Cola. And now, to Counterspy. Early one evening, in the Glass and Steel Railroad Terminal in the lovely Swiss city of Lucerne, a train chugged busily to a stop at the platform. Among the crowd waiting at the platform was a tall, swarthy man in a dark gray chauffeur's uniform. Half hidden behind a post, his eyes scanned the faces of the disembarking passengers. As a dignified gray-haired man stepped from the train, the chauffeur smoothed down his uniform and approached the gray-haired man deferentially.
Dr. Brewster, the American scientist?
Yes?
The car you ordered is over here, sir. Just a few steps.
Good. Tell me, this cottage up the valley I'm going to, is it quiet, secluded, well hidden?
Oh, yes, Dr. Brewster. Once you are there, you will believe yourself to be in another world.
Driver, you're slowing down. Are we near the cottage already?
No, Dr. Brewster, but a young lady up ahead on the road seems to be having difficulty with her car. I thought I might see if I could help her.
Old world courtesy, of course.
Of course. Mademoiselle, can I be of some assistance?
For starters, something seems to be wrong.
Allow me. Everything is going well, Karen. Have you contacted the agents of the nations that might be interested?
Yes, Belair. They are eager to see you, particularly that young one, Victor Modesto.
I'll be ready to talk to them in 48 hours. Dr. Brewster and I should have reached an understanding by then.
Very well. 48 hours.
There you are, mademoiselle. It was just a loose bolt.
Thank you.
I've fixed it now so that nothing can go wrong.
Karen, as many times as I've been here, I never cease being amazed.
Really, Victor?
To think that this chateau, the most impressive in all Lucerne, in all Switzerland, belongs to such a scoundrel as Belair.
If you feel that way, why do business with him?
Unfortunately, my profession compels me to deal with swine.
Such as I?
You are the exception, Karen.
Not be too sure, Victor. Shall we go in?
Tell me, what is it Belair has to sell this time?
I act only as his messenger. He does not share his secrets with me.
What does he share?
His leisure hours.
Oh, sounds delightful, Karen.
That depends.
Ah, Karen, you're brought it.
Yes, Belair.
Hello, Belair.
So formal, Victor. We know each other better than that.
I'm afraid we do.
Karen.
Yes, Belair?
They are performing a particularly fine ballet at the Opera House tonight. I thought we might go there and follow it with a late supper and a little gambling at the casino.
As you wish.
Then, hadn't you better return to your hotel so you can change and perform whatever mysterious rites you must to keep yourself so attractive?
Oh, of course. Goodbye, Monsieur Modesto.
I may see you at the casino later, Karen.
Come, Victor, my study. It is the only place in this chateau I permit business to be transacted. A moment. I close the doors. Drink, Victor? Brandy? Aquavit? Vodka? Or did you pick up a taste for scotch during your years as diplomatic attaché in the United States?
I never drink while on duty, Belair. You've something to sell. What is it?
That is why I'm so fond of you, Victor. So correct and so direct. Why did such a prim young man as you ever enter his country's espionage service?
For a reason you would not understand, Belair. Patriotism.
I not understand patriotism? Don't be ridiculous, Victor. I make my living from selling secrets to patriots so that they may kill other patriots.
It is a matter of honor I prefer not to discuss with one such as you.
So righteous.
Get to the point, Belair.
Not only do you speak English like an American, but you do business the same way with the same directness. Very well. I offer you a most valuable article. In fact, to your country, to any country, it is priceless.
Be more specific.
I will when we have talked price.
Oh? What is your figure?
$1 million American. That is the starting price for this knowledge.
Starting price? What does that mean?
There are other nations besides yours who could use this information, and I'm not particular.
You are making this offer to others, too.
You are the fourth representative of as many nations that I have talked to.
Have you no sense of honor, Belair?
I have a good sense of business. 4 possible buyers mean a better price than just one possible buyer would.
And that is the lowest price you will consider?
Yes, but I'm sure there will be higher ones. So return to the aged diplomats at your embassy. Let their watery blood run thicker at the thought of what I offer. The secret of American know-how in the field of modern miracles.
This information, Belair, is it on film? On paper? What is it?
It is imprinted on a human mind. You see, I'm selling not secrets and papers, but a human being. A man. The most experienced atomic scientist in the United States.
Clear Channel 12. Clear Channel 12.
Channel 12 clear. Use.
Counterspy Headquarters, Washington. Flaherty, Chief of Communications speaking. Code 72 revised.
Code 72 revised.
Are you ready, Code Division?
Go ahead, Flaherty. Go ahead, QA. To David Harding, Chief of Counterspies from Archer Codes Division. Here follows decoded message from Switzerland, Q8. Man named Belair, leading espionage operator living in Switzerland, claims to hold American scientist, informed all phases of American atomic progress. Belair, acting as agent for scientists to sell his services and knowledge to highest bidder among spy services here. End of message.
Thank you, Archer.
Dave, that message means big trouble. Maybe, Peter. Maybe, with someone selling us out on our atomic secrets? If they fell into the wrong hands.
As long as they're secret, anyone's hands are the wrong hands.
Who could that scientist be?
I have no idea. But I think this is important enough for you and me to move to the actual point of operation.
Switzerland?
Call the airfield, Peters, and have our C-54 made ready for transatlantic flight. And take care of all the necessary clearance routine.
Right, Peter.
Not so fast, Peter.
Oh? Sorry.
We'll be operating in alien territory without our usual facilities. You better have one of our portable laboratories transferred to the plane.
Flying lab. Good idea.
Now you can put on speed, Peter.
Right, I'll call you as soon as everything's set.
If I'm not here, try the communication room. I want to get right to the business of ferreting out the identity of that scientist in Switzerland.
Good evening, Karen.
Ah, Belair.
I've known you only 4 months, my dear, but you continually amaze me.
Good.
You grow lovelier each day. Make me wonder more about your life before we met.
Belair, did you finish your business with Victor this afternoon?
Yes. He made an attractive offer. How does fortune favor you at the gambling tables tonight?
She smiles pleasingly since I have adopted this charming gentleman as a lucky piece.
Oh?
Belair, let me present Monsieur Fulda.
Fulda? I've heard that name, monsieur.
And I the name of Belair.
It's not strange, since we are in allied fields.
Now, it is strange we have never met before.
I have dealt with representatives of your government.
Yes, they submit very flattering reports on you.
Gentlemen, and I to be completely ignored.
Karen, I am sorry. But it is not every evening one meets such a notable foreign agent as Monsieur Fulda.
I return the compliment, Belair.
You'll be here in Lucerne for some time, Fulda?
Quite some time. Lisbon, where I've been until now, is not quite the beehive of information it once was.
You may find Lucerne has taken its place.
Gentlemen, this was to be an evening of pleasure.
I am sorry, my dear.
I apologize, too, Karen. However, if Belair has something of interest to me, perhaps we can arrange an appointment.
I was just going to suggest that. You will bring your credentials?
Naturally.
Then come to my chateau tomorrow at 4.
Where is your chateau, Belair?
I will send Karen for
my good fortune continues.
And I have stopped with all this talk. Can we return to the table?
With pleasure, my dear. Some success at gambling might well be a forecast of larger stakes yet to be won.
Peters. Pretty good, Dave. If the weather holds, we should be in Lucerne by early evening.
Conway in Washington to C-54H. Conway to C-54H.
Yes, I'll take it. C-54H to Washington, receiving clear. Go ahead, Conway.
We've checked passport records, Mr. Harding. 5 atomic scientists and European travel permits.
What countries are they in now?
Sweden, France, Switzerland, and Italy. I've wired the counterspy attachés in the various cities to verify their presence.
Good. Radio photo us complete identification on the men involved. That's all. Peters, let's see if we can raise Agent Q8 in Switzerland on the code transmitter so our arrival won't be too unexpected. We may get more news of the man Belair.
Find my chateau attractive, Monsieur Fulda?
Very much so, Monsieur Belair. But to business. These offers you've had from other nations, what is the highest?
$2.5 million, Fulda. But I want more.
Shall we say $250,000 more?
Fulda, let's not quibble over $250,000. There's only the money of the taxpayers of your nation. Let's say a round sum. $3 million.
Of course, I would first have to know who the atomic scientist is and have material proof that you can deliver him.
Naturally.
And if he is not as important as you say, I withdraw the offer.
The gentleman of whom I speak is Dr. Simon Brewster.
Brewster?
In some respects, the foremost atomic research physicist in all America.
It's incredible. It's unbelievable. Why should Dr. Brewster betray his country?
Men betray only institutions that have been unjust to them. Dr. Brewster feels the injustice of the rewards he received from the United States.
And have you material proof I can submit to my government?
You shall see him this evening. From a distance. He does not wish to be bothered until the transaction is complete.
My eyes could be deceived.
You shall have his fingerprints.
They could be obtained fraudulently in many ways.
I'm so glad I'm not dealing with a fool. The final identification will be a plaster cast of his teeth. You can compare that with a dental chart.
Where would I get such a shot?
Surely your agents in America could obtain it.
That would take time, Belair.
I'm in no hurry. Neither is the Dr. Brewster. He withdrew from the atomic project a few months ago. He's enjoying his rest.
What about that glimpse of him you promised me?
He's at a cottage in the mountains. He can leave immediately. Good. Fulda, I'm afraid I must be melodramatic and ask you to submit to a blindfold as we approach the cottage.
I understand.
All right. Monsieur Belair.
Ah, Victor.
Back into that room.
Was this a polite way to come calling at my chateau? With a gun in your hands?
You too, monsieur.
Certainly.
Victor, you will give my guest a bad impression of my friends.
Belair, I want to know the name of the scientist we talk about.
The price you offered was not high enough, this gentleman's walk.
You take my price for my bullet. I do not bargain for my country's welfare.
How can one do business on such a basis? You see what I must put up with, Fuller?
A gun can be very persuasive, Belair.
But such evidence of bad faith. Victor, I think you'd better drop your gun, or Karen will shoot you in the back, through the door from the garden, behind you.
That trick would not fool a child.
It is not a trick, Victor, and you are not a child.
What? Drop it. You see, Fuller? These patriotic fools, always violent.
I say something else, too. Mademoiselle Karen is much more than decorative.
Much more. Shall we go?
What about Victor?
When he regains consciousness, Karen, slap him on the wrist and send him on his way. He will undoubtedly kill himself for failing in his duty to his country, unless he has more sense than I give him credit for. Once again, Fuller. Shall we go?
Listen to an amazing special offer. Think of it. A genuine super speed candid style snapshot camera that takes wonderful, clear, sharp pictures for only 50 cents and one bottle top from Pepsi-Cola. Did you ever hear anything so amazing? Here's what a high-quality camera it is. Genuine Plano convex double-element lens. Beautiful black plastic case. Takes 16 pictures, not just 8, on every reel of film. Standard size film that you can get at your nearby camera store. pictures are 1 1/4 inches by 1 5/8 inches. So clear you can have them enlarged. Instant eye-level viewfinder. Instantaneous 1/25th of a second speed shutter. Needs no adjustment. Just the thing to take to the beach with a carton of Pepsi-Cola. In fact, this is such a wonderful camera, it's guaranteed for 1 year against mechanical defects. The same type of camera David Harding uses to catch criminals. Now, here's all you do. Send only 50 cents in coin with your name and address, and only one Pepsi-Cola bottle top to Counterspy Headquarters, Box 12, New York 8, New York. Now, please print your name and address clearly, and be sure to enclose 50 cents. Your camera will be sent to you post-paid, but don't delay. This offer will not last. Send for your camera now, tonight. I'll repeat that address later. And now, back to Counterspy. On a small side street in Lucerne, Switzerland, Counterspy Harry Peters stops at the doorway of a watchmaker's shop. He looks at the window display briefly, glances up and down the street, and then, certain that no one has followed him, he enters the shop.
Quite a collection of clocks you've got here.
I only wish they were mine. The shopkeeper has stepped out for a moment.
Oh?
Okay, Peters, it's safe to talk.
You're sure? Mr. Fulda?
Positive, and skip the folder.
Okay, Mallory. Though you do that accent wonderfully.
Practice. The chief's in Switzerland?
Yes. He's staying undercover, living in the plane out at the airport.
It's a good idea. This town's a hotbed of spies. Someone would be sure to recognize him.
That's why he wants fast action on this case, Mallory.
Well, he's got it. Valaire's got hold of something really big.
He told you?
Yes, believing me to be the real Fulda. I know it's risky, but I'd like to report to Mr. Harding direct.
That big?
Yep.
Okay, Mallory. You leave this shop first. I'll cover you. If you're clear, I'll give you a high sign and head for the plane. You can meet us there.
Says you're getting action.
Too much.
You mean Belair suspects you?
On the contrary, posing as Fulda, I've made a deal for the scientist involved. $3 million.
Who is he?
Dr. Simon Brewster.
Brewster? You're kidding.
I've seen him.
What, you talked to him?
No. Belair only let me see him from a distance. He's hiding in a cottage in the mountains. I was blindfolded and taken there.
Brewster, a traitor? I can't believe it.
You saw him from a little distance, Mallory. It could have been an imposter.
It must have been.
I doubt it. Here are his fingerprints. I made Belair get them on this sheet of paper I gave him. And one thing more. This dental cast to check against Brewster's chart. My agents are supposed to obtain it from him.
Yes, we've got it, a radio photo. Peter, check this right away in the laboratory compartment of the plane. Well, Peter?
No doubt about it, Dave. The prints and the dental chart check exactly.
Then it is Brewster.
What do we do now?
Well, there's one point in our favor. Brewster's been off the project for quite a while now, and a lot of new progress has been made. But still, I'd rather gamble $3 million than the atomic information Brewster does have.
I might be able to locate that cottage, Mr. Harding.
No, Mallory, that's too much of a chance to take. No, instead, contact Belair again tomorrow. Make final arrangements to complete the deal. I'll see that the money's transmitted to you from our export bank.
Dave, why don't we at least try to find that cottage?
No, we'll cover Mallory on the money. Because I want him to get Brewster actually into his possession. If there's a slip-up, I'd rather lose the money than the man.
Okay, Mr. Harding, I'll take the money to Belair and his chateau right away. Well, Belair, is my part of the bargain satisfactory?
Perfectly, Fuller. I have not realized how big a package the money would make, even in large denominations.
And now?
Dr. Brewster. Of course. I have him right here for you. Come. This is Dr. Brewster.
You do?
Shall we go, Dr. Brewster?
Yes.
A drink, first gentlemen. To celebrate a most profitable transaction for all.
Not better.
I insist.
Very well.
Your health, Fulda.
Thank you.
And yours too, Dr. Brewster.
Thank you.
Fulda.
Yes?
I am Dr. Brewster's banker. If any attempt should be made to regain this money, part his, part mine, he will lose his power of speech as far as atomic information is concerned. Correct, Dr. Brewster?
Yes.
Come along, Dr. Brewster. I want to get you in the jurisdiction of my government as soon as possible. Goodbye, Billy.
Goodbye, Fulda. Karen, are you upstairs?
Yes, sir.
Then pack up quickly. You must move fast. We're going to take a vacation. A very long one. Worth $3 million.
Sit down, Dr. Brewster.
I don't understand, Mr. Fulda. This plane isn't even warming up.
There's someone I want you to meet. All right, Chief.
Hello, Dr. Brewster.
Hello.
Don't tell me you've forgotten me.
Why, no, you're...
What's the matter? Hold him. Oh, what's the Sam Hill?
His pulse, Mallory. Feel it.
Right.
He's dead.
What's the matter, Dave? I heard a scuffle.
Brewster's dead of a heart seizure.
Brewster? I wouldn't bet on that.
What?
This man is not Dr. Simon Brewster. Look at him closely. The features are generally the same, but here. Along the chin and the side of the nose. Faint scar tissue. See? Plastic surgery.
An imposter, as we thought.
But the fingerprints, the dental chart, you checked them. They were Brewster's. What's happened to him?
I'm afraid of the answer to that question.
We can get it out of Belair.
I think you're right, Peters. It's time we came out in the open. Mallory, you come with me to Belair Chateau.
Right.
Peters?
Yes?
We'll take the pilot and the co-pilot along for additional support. You cover us from outside. Let's get going.
Oh, Fulda.
Yes, Cap. Where's Belair?
Why, I do not...
All right, Carol. The limit in his companion to...
Come in, gentlemen.
Why the gun, Belair?
You seem angry, Fulda. You bring strangers to my house. I think it's advisable to have a gun.
Very discreet, particularly since I came to take back the money I paid you.
With this other gentleman to assist you?
Yes. Why? Dr. Simon Brewster is dead.
How unfortunate. But, Fulda, I kept my part of the bargain. I delivered them to you.
I want that money, Belair. My country cannot afford to waste dollars.
Ridiculous. Your country wastes more than any other in the world, doesn't it, Mr. David Hardy?
What do you mean?
Don't be foolish, Fulda, whatever your real name is.
It's Mallory, Belair.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy. Do you think that I, a dealer in espionage, would not recognize the head of the largest counterspy organization in the world? Karen.
Yes, Belair?
Relieve them of any weapons they may be carrying.
Certainly.
So, I was dealing with the United States all the time, Mr. Hardy.
You didn't suspect it, did you?
Give this agent of yours credit. He was very clever to assume the identity of a known spy.
What about Dr. Brewster?
Of course, you soon realized the man I delivered was an imposter. A fool I hired to impersonate the doctor.
But the real doctor?
Like the fake one. He's dead, too.
Can you prove that, Belair?
That's how I got his dental cast and fingerprints. I thought I could persuade him to talk. Unfortunately, his heart was not as strong as his conviction.
You're lucky with heart trouble, aren't you?
You mean the gentleman who died on your hands?
That wasn't heart trouble, Mallory.
Definitely not. It was poison. The drink you took before you left for the, Mallory. Now, Mr. Harding, I have no doubt you have other agents outside, but I, too, have an ace. There are many exits from the chateau. I shall leave by one and leave you two here, dead.
Your first shot will bring our men in.
And you're not going to fire it, Belair. I have a trump ace to play yet. The agent who informed me of this in the first place.
Oh?
All right, Belair, drop your gun.
Karen.
Drop it, Belair.
That's right, Belair. Meet Miss Karen Delphus, Counterspy, my trump ace.
But a dead one.
You all right, Karen?
I'm okay, Mr. Harding. He missed by just enough.
I didn't think he'd try that, Mr. Harding. Just as well. It'll save a lot of explanation all around. Hey, it's all right, Peter. Everything's under control.
Who's the girl?
An agent you haven't met. Meet Karen Delphus, code name Q8.
Glad to meet you at last, Mr. Peters.
Glad to meet you.
Mallory, stay here with the body. Call the Swiss police. I want to report everything to Washington. Peters, you can escort Karen to her hotel. She'll probably fly back home with us.
It'll be a pleasure, Dave.
Yes, that's what I'm afraid of. Let's go.
Now, everybody, act immediately. Send only 50 cents with your name and address clearly printed and only one Pepsi-Cola bottle top for a genuine Candid-style camera. Send to Counterspy Headquarters, Box 12, New York 8, New York. And remember,
Pepsi-Cola, kids and pop, 2 full glasses, that's a lot. Lot more value, lot more zest. Why take less when Pepsi's best?
Tune in every Tuesday and Thursday, same time, same station to Counterspy. Listen next Tuesday for the exciting Counterspy case of the Beefy Buyer.
Millions in merchandise vanished into thin air. A master criminal with one tiny failing, and a weakling who turned strong in the face of death. These were some of the memorable facts in an action-packed investigation we're going to dramatize next week. Be sure to be listening for
Case of the Beefy Buyer on Counterspy. Tonight's Counterspy program originated in New York, was directed by Mark P. Loeb, dramatized by Palmer Thompson, and featured Don McLaughlin and Mandel Kramer, with music by Jesse Crawford. Bob Shepard speaking. Counterspy is a Phillips H. Lord production for Pepsi-Cola. Enjoy some Pepsi, ice cold tonight.
It was hot and still, an August night in the middle of April. But that didn't matter to the striptease dancer in the golden mask, because murder made her blood run cold the night the heat wave struck.
From the pen of Raymond Chandler, outstanding author of crime fiction, comes his most famous character in The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. Now, with Gerald Moore, starred as Philip Marlowe, we bring you tonight's exciting story, The Heat Wave.
Spring was only 3 weeks old, but the sun bore down on Los Angeles with the middle of the summer vengeance. At noon, it was 102 in the shade, and by 3:30, with doors, window, and shirt collar all open as far as they would go, I still sweltered in the kind of heat that wilts both your clothes and your character, as I tried to make sense from the crisp words of a telegram I just received from one Karen Driscoll, Jr., no less, of Nob Hill, San Francisco. It told me to go to the Palace Theater, a burlesque house on Main Street, watch the performance of the featured dancer, get backstage, and take a close look at her face. Then meet the 7 o'clock plane from San Francisco and report what I'd seen to Miss Driscoll, Jr. It was a strange request coming from Nob Hill, but the enclosed $50 money order wasn't kidding, so I perspired my way down to the Palace Theater. There, instead of the usual 30 beautiful girls, 30 sign over the marquee, was a 50-foot gold banner that screamed, "The Heat Wave, who is she?" And the showcase cars that led to the box office were all a circle of question marks that centered a woman wearing a strange gold mask and little else. I bought a ticket and went inside in time for the tail end of the matinee. A baggy-pants comedian was just winding up a corny south-of-the-border routine as I sat down.
But there was Manuel, my brother, manual labor. he was the laziest man in all Mexico. Yeah, until he got a job shooting bulls for the government. He shot 800 bulls a day. Yeah, that made him the biggest bull shooter in Mexico City.
The comic kicked the crown out of an oversized sombrero in a hybrid hat dance and then galloped off into the wings. After reminding myself that I was here on business, I sat down again as a personality boy in brown flannel and a yellow shirt stepped into the spotlight with his arms raised.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're now privileged to witness one of the most unusual and breathtaking spectacles ever presented on any stage. In a moment, you will see her, the woman of mystery, performing exotic rites to the pagan sun god of the Incas, exactly as they were performed 3,000 years ago in the strange temples of the Andes. But who is she? Who is this woman? And who knows what secrets lie behind her mask of gold? The Palace Theater presents the masked marvelous, the beautiful, the dazzling, the mysterious Heat Wave.
I had to admit it. This was special. She was the color of alabaster and as supple as a cat, and as she moved across the stage, she got more convolutions out of her two arms than a restless octopus could with 8. Her costume from the neck down was about as sheer as a new spider web, and above that and covering her face completely was a gold mask, grotesque and glistening. As the dance headed for a climax designed to knock the cash customers right out of their seats, I reminded myself again that I was here on business. So I walked down the side aisle to a door that led backstage and went through it just as the dance ended. And while the audience tore the house down begging for more, the Heat Wave tossed a couple of kisses through a gold mask and ran to a dressing room. I started after her and was halfway there when a bulging hulk in a sharkskin suit that measured 6'6" in every direction lumbered casually out of the shadows and took a bulldog stance with his back against the dressing room door. I started thinking up fast ad-libs and was hot for a switch on the eager reporter gag when the baggy-pants comic slid up beside me.
Hey, chum.
Huh?
You're asking for a load of mayhem if you try to get to the Heat Wave past Jesse there.
Jesse? He the man mountain in the sharkskin suit?
Yeah, with orders to break bone.
No.
Maybe I can help you out.
Good. But how come?
Yeah, let's go around to the side. You're a reporter, right?
Yeah.
Well, Inky Barnes can use a little publicity, too, you know. Hold it here by the door. Now, what is it you have to know?
Well, all I want's one look at her face.
Yeah, that's a cinch. I said I'd help you out, and I will. Like this. Yeah. Right out there in the alley. And don't come back before midnight, Goon. You can see her face then when she takes the mask off.
I should have known better, but all I wanted at the moment was to kick the slack out of a pair of baggy pants. So I bounced back up the steps, jerked the door open, and ran head-on into 3 square yards of sharkskin suit. It was Jesse.
You ain't welcome around here, bum, so stay out. Have you got it?
Okay, Jesse, let's say I've got it.
Yeah. Also, don't drop it as you walk away.
I was glad to remember that I had a client to meet at the airport. So in spite of the fact that the Heat Wave's face was still a well-kept secret behind a gold mask, I took Jesse's good advice and left.
Flight 11 from San Francisco arriving at Gate 4. With Dr. Robert Reamer, please report to the information desk.
When the plane taxied to a stop at the airline's gate, it was 7 o'clock sharp. And as the passengers unloaded, a tall, sinuous brunette with arched eyebrows, an imperial gesture, and a hat that had kept some imaginative milliner out of the red for several months had to be Miss Karen Driscoll, Jr. I introduced myself, ushered her to the cocktail lounge, and when a Gibson sparkled in front of each of us, she got down to business.
Well, Marlowe, did you see her?
Yes and no.
I have a photograph here. Look, is this the same girl?
It's a headshot. It's pretty, but no help, Miss Driscoll.
You didn't see her face then?
No. Look, Junior, do I refund your money now or start asking questions?
Don't be ridiculous. I must know who that girl is, and I'll tell you why. This picture is of my sister, Midge Driscoll.
Oh? Think your sister's the heat wave?
Yes. Oh, she's doing it to humiliate me, Marlowe. Tomorrow I'm being married to a man whose family is distinguished in diplomatic circles.
No?
And this burlesque heat wave woman is to be revealed at midnight tonight. If she is my sister, can you imagine what the papers will do with that story tomorrow morning?
Yeah, some wedding present. But your own sister, I don't get it. Why?
Oh, it's an old hate, Marlowe. Midge lost a love affair, and I won it. Years ago. She's never gotten over it.
Oh.
And she's done things before. The day I was elected president of the Metropolitan Club, she faked an elopement with my chauffeur. The night of my engagement party, she rode a horse into the Flamingo Room. A brawl started, and she spent the night in jail.
I see what you mean, but this heat wave's got a lot of talent for burlesque. A lot of experience in her line. In fact, she's a sensation, let's face it. So what makes you think it's Midge, a hunch?
Oh, no. I found the name Tracy Lake in her apartment in San Francisco. He's the manager of the Palace Theater here. I learned that from a newspaper story in which Josh Freeman...
Josh Freeman?
Yes, the big producer.
Oh.
He's supposed to be bargaining with Lake for his heat wave discovery. Oh, she's done a thorough advanced publicity job, all right.
What if she turns out to be your sister? What then?
That's my business. I know how to make money talk, Marlowe, and I've more than enough for a polite but firm conversation. Your job is merely to find out for sure, between now and midnight, if my sister actually is this heat wave. I'll take care of everything else.
Karen Driscoll Jr. gave me her local phone number, then got up, cursed the hot night, bid me hurry, and summoned a taxi. All with a regal wave, one hand. And I was left to my own devices in something less than 5 hours to make them work in, so I drove back to the Palace Theater, which was stalling until midnight by showing a triple feature movie. Paid another admission and slipped backstage again. It was deserted except for 2 electricians tied up in pinochle under the switchboard light. The heat wave's dressing room was locked. Jessie was nowhere in sight, and I was about to leave again when I heard a familiar voice cooing into a dark note that turned out to be a phone booth. It was Hinky Barnes, the baggy pants comic.
Beauty to the beautiful, you know. Hey, listen, baby. About that other deal, did you talk to her? She won't. You sure? Yeah. Yeah, well, look, I gotta talk to you. How about dinner? You can't? Well, I know you got things on your mind, but... Yeah, honey, I know you're tired. Well, okay. Don't worry, things are gonna be okay. You'll see. Bye-bye, baby.
Hey, Hinky.
Oh, you again.
Yeah, that's right. That brings us up to date, even Steven. Now get this. First, I'm not a reporter. Second, I represent Josh Freeman's office. And third, I haven't got all night.
You mean Josh Freeman, the big producer?
Know any other Josh Freeman? I want to talk to Tracy Lake about the heat wave, but I want to see her before I talk. Is she here?
No. She won't be back until the big midnight show.
Where's Tracy, then?
He's home. At the Toppert House out in Wilshire. About 2 blocks down from Arthur Murray's. Hey, but listen, tell me something. Is Josh going to make a star out of her?
With a talent like hers? What do you think, Hinky? I left Hinky with his mouth hanging open and the fire of ambition burning like an alcohol lamp in each eye as I drove out to the Toppert House on Wilshire. Leaning on the bell at Tracy Lake's apartment, I got ready to be a hard-hitting, practical-minded producer's right-hand man.
Yeah, what is it?
Tracy, my name's Marlowe out of Josh Freeman's office. Caught the Heat Waves Act this afternoon. Willing to wrap her up and take her home right now. But not sight unseen. Who is she?
Wait a minute.
Huh?
You say you're from Josh Freeman, Marlowe?
That's right. And I got a blank check right here in my pocket. Authorized to fill it out unless you're completely unreasonable.
I see. Well, now, look, Marlowe, this heat wave thing is going over 1,000% better than any of us expected.
Yeah, I know. But you see...
The price is high already, and the bids have only started to come in. Oh, excuse me. I just opened a bottle of Paul Masson over there. Help yourself, Marlowe. I'll be right back.
A perfectly good telephone sat within an arm's reach of Lake. But instead he went down the hall to an extension and closed the door behind him. It was distinctly malpractice, but time was running out on me, so I picked up the phone and listened.
Is Mr. Ridgely the jeweler?
Oh, yes. What is it, Ridgely?
The bracelet you selected is ready now. We can deliver it immediately.
Fine. It goes to Miss Nita LaVar, 44 Edgewood Terrace. Oh,
lovely. And the engagement ring? The sunburst?
Yeah, that's for Miss LeVar, too. But deliver that to the theater at midnight. You got it?
Yes, indeed, sir. Thank you. And congratulations.
Tracy Lake and Nita LeVar. Who might she be?
Sorry, Marlowe, a little personal business. Now, you were saying...
Yeah. I was saying I can hand you a nice fat check if this mass marvelous is really okay. You're building up to quite a surprise, Tracy. You must have something.
Yes. Indeed I have, old boy. Plenty.
Yeah?
I can't reveal the lady's name until midnight.
All right. Play coy. What's her background? Has she got class?
Class? Marlowe, you wouldn't believe it.
Not blue book stuff. Society girl in burlesque?
Why, anything's possible, Marlowe.
Sure. She could even be from Nob Hill, huh?
Yeah, like I said.
Anything's possible, sure. Okay, Tracy, that's what I wanted to find out. See you after the unveiling, and you got a great night for it.
Oh, Marlowe, I suppose Big Ed Peters is in on the deal as usual, along with Josh?
Yeah, it's a regular Josh Freeman deal, just as usual. See you later, Tracy. This is Marlowe, Jr. I just wound up an interview with Tracy Lake. When I threw Nob Hill at him, he turned green. But it's not official yet. The odds are high that it's your sister Midge, all right, who's knocking him dead as the heat wave.
I knew it. That horrible, vindictive little tramp. What else, Marlowe? Did you find out where she is?
Yeah. She's going under the name of Nita LeVar and staying at 44 Edgewood Terrace near MacArthur Park. But listen, it's not positive yet, so I'm going there to check right now.
Where are you calling from, Marlowe?
A phone booth at a closed gas station out here on Wilshire. But Oh.
What's the matter? What is it, Marlowe?
I am about to start earning that fee of yours, baby. 300 pounds of muscle in a sharkskin suit just walked up. Goodbye.
Hello, Sonny.
Well, my Piltdown pal.
So the boss was right. You're just a cheap, nosy reporter, after all. It's cramped in there, ain't it? But you're not getting out, bub.
Now, wait a minute, Jesse. It's a hot night. Let's not work up a sweat, huh?
Don't you worry about that. Mr. Lake pegged you as a phony nosy, and that's bad.
What do you mean, phony?
You said Big Ed Peters was in on a deal with Josh Freeman.
All right, what about it?
Big Ed's been dead for 12 years. And you know what? He's still going to look better than you are 30 seconds from now. Oh!
In just a moment, the second act of Philip Marlowe. But first, tomorrow night, in order of their appearance, you'll hear Joseph Cotton, Ozzie and Harriet, Jack Benny and his gang, Amos and Andy, Sam Spade, Lum and Abner, Helen Hayes, Eve Arden, and hold tight now, a special show with Bing Crosby, Bob Hope, Claudette Colbert, and Dinah over most of these same CBS network stations. And Jack Benny with Mary, Phil, Dennis, Don, and Rochester will be heard over them all. Now, with our star, Gerald Moore, we return to the second act of Philip Marlowe and tonight's story, The Heat Wave.
When the little man in big iron boots were kicking at the lining of my temples finally quit, and I dragged myself back up to the vertical, Gargantua was gone. I was sure of only two things. Tracy Lake did not know that I was anything other than a nosy reporter, and second and more important, it was time for me to head for Edgewood Terrace and the lady known as Nita LeVar. As I started for the front door of number 44, which was an all-alone stucco under tile L-shaped that showed a single light, the little men in iron boots went to work again. It reminded me that it might be healthier if I first found out exactly what was waiting behind the mat marked welcome. So I made a wise circle around to the back, then in closer past a whispering huddle of palms through a flagstone patio that led to a short flight of also flagstone steps. But there, when I was only a few feet from an uncurtained window, I stopped at the sight of something I hadn't expected. It was the body of a woman lying in a twisted heap at the bottom of the stairs. When I moved closer, I saw that the ugly cut on the side of her head that had killed her had come from the jagged edge of the last step. I also saw that the woman was Midge Driscoll. Next to the body, there was an overturned, crushed sprinkling can, which meant that she could have fallen to her death accidentally. Also, it could have meant that if murdered, her killer had overturned and crushed the sprinkling can as well. I was somewhere between the two thoughts when I heard a car brake to a stop in front of the house. Then high heels on a cement walk. I quietly moved around to where I could see something tall and blonde who, in a better light, would have been better looking. Good evening.
What? Who's there?
Name's Philip Marlowe. Mean anything?
Nothing.
Then try this. I'm a friend of Midge Driscoll's.
Midge? I never heard of anyone by that name.
I'll bet. Step up a little closer, honey.
Now, wait a minute, Mr. Bright Eyes. Midge!
Yeah, Midge. In Driscoll. Name you never heard of, remember? Now, what do you say? Do we play it straight?
Yeah. I'm Nita LeVar, Mr. Marlowe.
Baby, you're getting in deeper by the minute, and by that I specifically mean that Midge Driscoll here and Nita LeVar are one and the same.
Oh, you're crazy. I know my own name. It is and always has been Nita LeVar. That's Midge Driscoll.
All right, since you've grown so cooperative, maybe you can tell me why she's dead.
Could be that she fell down those stairs.
An hour before her unmasking is the heat wave?
Heat wave? You know an awful lot, mister. How come?
It's strictly business. I'm a private detective with client. We'll talk about that later. Right now, it's time to go in and call the police. And don't tell me you can't find your key.
Don't worry, private detective. I won't. Here, catch.
Got it.
Now, let's get inside. But let's not call the police, huh?
Why not? Are you afraid that they'll... Oh, I see what you and that pretty little gun mean.
I'm glad. I'd hate to have to shoot you.
Why, want a night your quarter?
Don't be funny. I didn't kill Midge.
Then why no police?
For a very good reason. Until tonight, Marlowe, I've been the heat wave. The substitute heat wave for Milady there, who didn't have the time or the talent for the build-up to the great joke she was going to pull on her sister.
You mean you were the one I saw today?
The one everybody saw every day. And liked. Liked so much that business boomed and all the heads in the front row weren't bald.
Which has what to do with me calling the police?
In general, everything. In particular, my career. I tried to get that crazy kid there to back off and let me go on with the act that she'd kill after one performance, but no. Miss Bunny Moneybanks wouldn't hear of it.
Now that she's dead, you're in, is that it?
Solid. And that's also the reason why I don't want to spend the next 2 hours talking to cops. So go on, put the key in the lock, turn it, open the door, and walk in.
What happens then?
Then, Mr. Marlowe, we call Tracy Lake and arrange for a playmate for you.
Playmate named Jessie, maybe.
A playmate named Jessie. And no, maybe.
When we got inside, Nita LeVar, who handled the prisoner with the finesse of a Marine Guard detachment, took my gun, threw it across the room, put me into a faraway straight-back chair, and got through to Tracy Lake without once taking her baby blue eyes off me. Then when she told the man she called Darling all about Midge's death, which could have been for my benefit, she placed a rush order for the monster. After that, she hung up, sat down with a cigarette, and waited. But a second later, she was back on her feet. When I said that friend Jessie was fast, she said I should shut up and more.
Listen, Marlowe, you do exactly as I say. Coming! Now stay right where you are and don't so much as open your mouth. Who is it?
It's me, Nita. Hinky.
Oh, good. Come on in, Hinky.
Hello, Nita.
Hi.
I just happened to be going by, and since I knew it was Midge's night, I thought that...
Never mind what you thought. Just come in and listen. It isn't Midge's night, Hinky. It's mine. And don't ask questions now. Here.
Ooh. What's the gun for, Nita? What's the matter?
A private detective, but public nuisance named Marlowe.
Marlowe, a detective?
Mm-hmm.
He told me he was from Josh Freeman's office.
He was lying. Now, get this, Hinky. Midge Driscoll is out and back, dead.
But why?
I don't know why, and I care less. But Marlowe here is crazy for calling the cops, which would leave me at midnight doing my big number for the desk sergeant. Great. So use that gun, see, and hold him here until Jessie shows up, which should be any minute. Now, goodbye, and be careful, Hinky. So long, bright boy.
Gentle soul, huh, Barnes?
Never mind, Marlowe. Save the gap for Jessie. He's a great listener.
I doubt if he'll give me the time, considering that I know it's an odds-on bet it'll be a couple of slugs in my belt buckle before he's even in the room.
Jessie? Kill you? Why would he do that?
Because he works for Tracy Lake. And Tracy Lake has to kill me, Barnes. I know he's a murderer.
Midge Driscoll was murdered? You sure of that?
Just about. Doesn't figure any other way. Nita herself told me how much this chance means to her and how hard she tried to get Midge to back off.
But Tracy, how does he tie in?
2 ways. The money he'll get out of the show continuing indefinitely, and better than that, the fact that he and Nita are going to be married.
Those two get married? You're nuts, Marlowe.
No, it's straight, Barnes. I know because I overheard Tracy talking to a jeweler about the ring he ordered. Now, you mind if I have a cigarette? Hey, Barnes, can I reach for a cigarette?
Oh, yeah, okay. Hey, Marlowe. You sure of this? Everything you just said, I mean, about them getting married and all?
Sure I am. Why, you a little disgusted with your buddies?
Yeah, a little. So as of right now, you can do as you want. I'm leaving.
No, you're not, Mr. Barnes.
Jesse, hey, Jesse, don't shoot.
I won't, Mr. Barnes. Unless, of course, you or Buster try to get out of here.
Oh, who, me, Jesse?
Yeah. You were going to let Marlowe go, Mr. Barnes. I don't think Mr. Lake would like that.
I'm sure he wouldn't, Jesse. So why don't you just save everyone a lot of time and start pulling that trigger? While you can still see what you're doing.
Hey, the light!
Get going, Barnes!
You dirty louse. I'll fix you. You'll never get out of here alive. Where are you? Come on, talk. Where are you? Where are you? Answer me, you hear? Answer me!
With pleasure.
Oh, you stinking slime. I'll tear you apart if I get my hands on you.
Which, Jesse boy, is a trick. And now for our meeting in a phone booth, flowers, your big 8 bars and all. After I got some lights on and found my gun where Nita had tossed it when we first came in, I checked Jesse over once to make sure that he was neither dead nor too alive. Then I started for the door. But there, even as my hand closed over the knob, I stopped. A crazy thought from I don't know where wedging its way into my mind. I turned back toward the room and stared at the flower and vase-strewn form of the ape that covered half the carpet. Then slowly the wedge broke through and there was light, lots of it. The kind in which I could see why Midge Driscoll had been murdered. And more important, why I had to get to the Palace Theater in Nita Laval before murder happened again. I lurched from the curb in front of Nita's at 20 minutes to 12. When I screeched to a stop downtown at the Palace without somehow hitting or being hit along the way, those 20 minutes were gone. And I was worried because midnight meant that Nita would already be on stage for the unmasking. I raced past the general at the door and then across the lobby and into the theater where I figured I could get down a side aisle of the wings. That was figuring wrong. Because fire laws notwithstanding, the place was strictly SRO and packed tighter than the 7th Game World Series. Between the backs of perspiring necks, I could see that Nita, who was across stage from Tracy Lake himself and in the center of a single spotlight that could have opened a supermarket, was still masked. So while I prayed that Lake, who was winding up his spiel, would think of bigger and better adjectives, I ran back to the lobby and around to a flight of stairs that led to the first balcony, where over on one side and near the railing, I found an old man who was daddy to a trio of baby Spots, and the one giant that was on Nita. I shoved him aside just as Lake finished and the maestro took over. And with one hand, I got a good grip on the .38 in my pocket, and with the other, the handle on the big Spot.
Hey, what are you doing?
Hoping I'm wrong, Dad. But if not, hoping the gun I expect doesn't come from the wings, but... Hey, there, in that side balcony near the curtain, see it?
Yeah, it's a gun, all right. Hey, that's Hinky Bar.
Right. Let's give the funny man a big audience and lots of light. You're on, Barnes.
Watch out, he's going to shoot at us.
Yeah, and us at him.
You got him! You got him!
Music! Music! Play something! Play music! Play some music!
It was 20 minutes of bedlam. Police, music, and 2 quick numbers by Nita Lavar, all of whose shaking was not routine. Before the Palace got back to the quiet business of being a burlesque house, and the show went on. It was another hour and 20 minutes before it was all over, and the theater was empty and dark, except for a work light on the stage where Nita, Tracy Lake, and I were sitting in the middle of a papier-mâché Inca civilization.
Well, Marlowe, the police say they think he's going to live for a while. Can't figure the guy. Never knew he felt that way about Nita here.
Neither did I. I was always okay to him, and I knew he cared some, but that's as far as it went.
With you, Nita, yeah. But with Hinky, it was something else.
Something strong enough to make him kill Midge Driscoll so that Nita would get a big chance, eh, Marlowe?
Mm-hmm. And when he found out through me that you two were going to be married, he realized that the murder he had committed was for nothing. And now he was going to make one count. So he turned on you, Nita.
How did you find out in time to get to him before he could make a try for Nita?
The way the guy sagged when I said you were going to be married told me all I had to know. But it was cinched by the American beauties draped around Jesse.
American beauties? Flowers?
Yeah. See, I remembered a phone call Hinky made. You, Nita, had been the lady he'd talked to and loved. From there on out, it was a little better than a shot in the dark.
2 shots in the dark, Marlowe. Good ones that are responsible for Nita still being here with her. Thanks, fella.
Yeah, Marla, thanks a lot.
Don't mention it. After all, I was paid for my work, and besides, that dance you do, Nita, belongs to posterity. Good night. It was still hot in the city. I had no enthusiasm for further conversation, and a very sticky feeling from head to foot. So I took care of Karen Driscoll Jr. in a fast telephone call and then pointed my car for my apartment. I couldn't help thinking of poor little Hinky Barnes, who brought laughter to everyone else, but could find no happiness for himself. He was like the man who went to see a doctor one day and said, "Doctor, I can't laugh anymore." And the doctor said, "Go and see Grok, the greatest clown of them all. If he can't make you laugh, there's no help for you." The man smiled and said, "Thank you, doctor. You see, I am Grok."
The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, created by Raymond Chandler, star Gerald Moore, and are produced and directed by Norman MacDonald. Script is by Mel Donnelly, Robert Mitchell, and Gene Levitt. Featured in the cast were Vivi Janis, Wilms Herbert, Ed Begley, Elsie Holmes, Barney Phillips, and Byron Kane. The special music is by Richard O'Runt. Be sure and be with us again next week when Philip Marlowe says...
It started at dawn in a Los Angeles taxi and wound up that night on a cliff in the middle of the Pacific. All because of a Dutchman with $50,000, a corpse in a lily pond, and an Oriental with a chauffeur who wanted a cloak made of nothing but feathers.
In just about an hour from now, $50,000, the biggest jackpot in radio history, will be waiting CBS listeners from coast to coast on the Sing It Again program over most of these same CBS network stations. This is Roy Rowan speaking. Now, stay tuned for Gangbusters, which follows immediately over most of these stations. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Gangbusters, presented in cooperation with police and federal law departments throughout the United States. The only national program that brings you authentic police case history. Gangbusters presents the case of the inside track, and how a beautiful plant nearly turned into a funeral wreath in an attempt to crush a deadly racket.
Gangbusters has asked the Honorable Joseph L. Schering, Superintendent of Police, New Orleans, Louisiana, to narrate by proxy tonight's case. Superintendent Schering.
Thank you, Roger Foster, and good evening, gang. Bourbon Street in the French Quarter of New Orleans probably is the scene of more nightlife per square foot than any other thoroughfare in the world. It was in a joint of the more sordid type that this case began one night several months ago. A sharply dressed man in his early 30s had been standing against a wall several feet from the weary piano player, observing what went on at the bar. After a half hour or so of this observation, he walked across the floor to a door in the back of the club.
Come in, Ginger. Yeah. How's business out there, Ginger?
So slow, but that redhead is at the bar again.
Yeah?
Yeah, she walked in about 10 minutes ago.
Alone?
Alone. But I guarantee you she won't go out alone, Hutch. She started working a guy already. What do you want me to do? Want me to throw her out?
Bring her in here. I want to talk to her.
What she needs is a good boat and a...
Ginger.
I'll get her.
Wait a second.
What's this going to be, another lecture?
It's going to be the same lecture. This has got to be a clean joint, Ginger. I don't want nobody kicked around. I don't want no muscle. But the others live on rough stuff. This joint has got to stay without bruises.
Okay, I'll go home, get my kid gloves.
If there's any kicking around to be done here, I'll do it myself. Just watch out you're not on the receiving end. I'll go get her.
Yeah, okay. All right, Hutch. We're not in business to kick people around.
Well, I don't know, sir. I don't even know your name.
Oh, that's easy. My name's you, sister.
Me?
Yeah, you. Come on. Oh, let's see here, friend. You take it easy, pal. Let's go, sister.
Don't sit to me and get your hands off.
Leave the lady alone. She's no lady, pal. I'm doing you a favor, believe me. She's a lush worker. Oh?
Let me go.
Well, listen, you're better off, pal. Harry, drink in the house with this gentleman. Oh, thanks. Thanks a lot. This way, sister. Don't fight me.
Okay, you win.
The boss wants to see you.
Why?
Don't ask me. We're up to me and 3 in the gutter. Okay, in there.
Much obliged.
Here she is, Hutch. Over there, sister.
The name is not sister.
Sit down, miss.
I can stand.
He said sit down.
Get your hands off.
Ginger?
What are you supposed to do, Hutch? You're supposed to handle these lush workers like they were duck's eggs?
Go on, Ginger, get out of here. I'll take care of this.
For crying out loud.
Get out of here.
All right, I'm gone. Handle it your own way. See what it'll get you.
Listen, what's the beef?
Sit down. We'll talk about it.
Sister. Just call me sister.
Sit down, sister.
Thanks. Might as well. As long as I'm staying.
You don't mind if I smoke?
I don't care if you go up in flames.
You have one?
No, thanks. Never use them. Look, just tell me what the beef is and let me get out of here.
It's very simple. I don't care how many drunks you roll or how much you take off of them. More power to you. Just don't set up your marks in my place, that's all.
Where'd you get the idea I did anything like that? I'm a social worker by profession.
You set up a lumberman from Little Rock right outside in the bar last night. He got loaded and you rolled him for $150.
Little birdie told you?
Lumberman beef to the cops. They were in here nosing around. Now, look. I run a clean joint. It's got to stay clean. Do your business elsewhere. I don't want any cop nosing around in here. Is that plain?
All right. I'll take my business elsewhere.
Tell me something, will you?
What?
You're an awful pretty kid. Get a head on your shoulders. What do you need the rackets for?
Did you ever stand on your feet 8 hours a day for $32 a week, pushing buttons and pulling levers so housewives would have a jar of peach preserves to feed their kiddies?
No.
Well, I did. That's why I'm in the racket. Much easier on the feet. Next question?
What's your name?
Ellie.
Ellie what?
Ellie Lee. Used to be Ellie Stritska. That's Stryzyca. I changed it to Lee because I like to do things the hard way. 26 years old, the hair is naturally red, but I touch it up once in a while. Was born and raised in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Got my first taste of larceny in Wilkes-Barre. Tasted good. Got my first taste of jail, the Pennsylvania Reformatory for Women. That didn't taste too good. Came to New Orleans 2 weeks ago, and I'm on the make for the easiest dollar I can find. Is there anything else?
Yeah. What you doing later tonight?
I don't know. What am I doing?
You're having a few drinks and a big steak with a guy named Joe Hutchinson.
That's you.
Mm-hmm. That's me.
That's what I'm doing later tonight.
Come on.
Where?
Just come on.
All right. I'm a trusting soul.
Ginger. Yeah, Hutch, right here. Okay, sister, hit the ties and get out.
Ginger, get my car. Take Miss Lee to my place.
What?
You heard the man.
I heard what he said, but I don't know what he meant.
Take her to my place and wait there with her till I get there.
Yeah. Okay, Hutch.
Be nice to her. She's a friend of mine.
Yeah. Come on, let's go.
Bye, Hutch. See you later.
Out that way, sister.
The name is Miss Lee. You heard what the man said. I'm a friend of his.
What a world. Sergeant Gervais.
Hello, Sergeant. Cooper.
Yes, Ed?
She made the contact.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah. She was trying to make the pickup at the bar. Ginger walked in on it. He took her back to Hutchinson's office. She stayed in there a while, then Hutch had Ginger drive her to his place.
Where are you, Ed?
I'm in a filling station across the street from Hutch's house.
Okay, stick there and keep your eyes open.
Check with me every 15 minutes.
Yeah, I got you. So long.
United States Treasury Narcotics Bureau.
Let me talk to Mr. Sampson. This is Sergeant Gervais, New Orleans detectives.
Yes, sir. I'll bring Mr. Sampson.
District Supervisor Sampson.
Hello, Art. Pete Gervais. I think we're in.
What happened?
Ellie tried to make a pickup at the bar. Ginger stepped in and took her to Hutch. Head Cooper said she just went to Hutch's apartment.
Okay, Pete. It sounds all right. I got my fingers crossed.
Look, don't worry about the girl. She can take care of herself.
I hope so.
Believe me, she's the best we got.
This is a little bit different than nailing shoplifters, Pete.
Art, she's a good cop. She's got a pretty face and lots of sense. We wanted somebody to get inside that mob. Okay, she's in, practically.
All right. We just want her not to get too ambitious. All we want to know is how they land the stuff and where. Maybe she can pick that up by keeping her ears open. If you can't, that's all right, too. I don't want her pressing her luck. You're liable to have a dead policeman.
Which house is it, Ellie?
The second from the corner.
Second from the corner, Ginger. I heard her.
Right there, in front of the lamppost. Well, thanks for...
Oh, I'll get it.
Oh, much obliged. You're a true friend.
That's nice to know.
The evening was an unexpected pleasure.
Come on, I'll see you up.
No, Hutch. This is far enough for one night.
All right. I'll call you tomorrow.
No, don't call me.
Why not?
I'll call you.
All right.
Good night.
Good night, Ellie.
Good night, brother.
Yeah, good night.
I'll call you tomorrow.
I'll be waiting. Okay, Junior.
Now that the lady has gone, you're not ashamed to sit up in front with the chauffeur, huh?
Get going.
Tell me something, will you, Hutch? I'll admit she's a picture. I can't take that away from her, but what do you need a dame like that? A rush worker, a thief?
She's got a certain charm.
What do you mean charm? What charm?
It's there. She's a beauty. She's bright. With that, being a thief, there's a certain magnetism about her.
Couldn't you pick a nicer girl?
Just the kind of girl I want. Knows her way around. She won't shock you.
You figuring to take her on the inside?
No, but she's around enough. She's bound to hear a few things.
Oh, she's going to be around a lot, huh?
Enough.
Listen, you got no time for romance. There's a shipment coming in Tuesday. There's plenty of work to be done. We got to get it off the boat. We got to get it moving, etc.
You let me do the managing, Ginger.
It ain't getting done very well.
Don't get so critical, Ginger. You've got a big enough job of your own to handle. Now go on, get me home. It's nearly 5 in the morning. I gotta get some sleep tonight.
Once again, we hear from tonight's narrator, Superintendent of Police Joseph L. Sherring of New Orleans.
About 10 o'clock on the following Monday night, the policewoman Ellie Lee boarded the Jackson Avenue ferry across the Mississippi in order to meet Sergeant Gervais and Agent Sampson.
You got the time?
What time is it, Art?
10 past 10.
Thank you.
How's it going, Ellie?
I think they're expecting delivery on a load tomorrow night. I don't know where or when.
Off a boat, do you think?
No idea.
Okay, that helps. Good work, Ellie.
Don't press your luck now. Just keep your ears open. Don't ask them too many questions.
Okay. It's funny. Hutch doesn't seem like too bad a guy.
Don't kid yourself. He's a bum in the worst racket there is. If he thinks anybody's crossing him, you'll know whether he's a bad guy or not. Okay, you better move now.
Good idea.
What's the matter?
Nothing's the matter.
Okay, get going.
Thanks. Thanks for the information.
She's all right, huh, Art?
Yeah, she sure is. She's a good cop.
Tomorrow night. What do you think, by land or sea?
And my guess is it's coming in on a boat. That's how we think they've been getting it. Let's check the list and see what docks tomorrow.
Okay.
There couldn't be more than 1 or 2 ships coming in. You know, we got lots of cases where a big-time smuggler signs on as a deckhand.
What about giving all the ships a dock tomorrow a thorough shakedown?
That might get us our smuggler all right, Pete, but we want Hutch and his crowd that much more. Hutch is the kingpin in a lousy racket. And we don't get Hutch if we nail the smuggler aboard ship. We gotta catch him making a meet with Hutch. It's the only way. Otherwise, we'll just find other guys to bring him the stuff.
Yeah, I see.
Gee, the lights on the river at night sure are pretty, aren't they, Pete?
Yeah, they sure are.
see him come in?
I'll take a look. Hutch, are you? Hello, Ginger.
Come on in, Ellie.
Where's Hutch?
Out someplace.
Where?
On business.
Oh,
You've been out on business, too, haven't you?
what do you mean?
Didn't I see you an hour ago on the Jackson Avenue ferry?
Did you?
I must have. I followed you there.
And you saw me.
What were you doing on the Jackson Avenue ferry?
I took the boat ride to jump over the side, but I didn't have the guts.
Is that so?
This could lead to quite a discussion.
And it's gonna.
Not in the mood for a discussion, so let's forget the whole thing. Going out to the bar for a drink.
No, you're not.
Just get your hands off me.
Who were those guys you were talking to?
Get your hands
Who
off
are
me.
they, cops?
Let me go.
Sit down.
No.
I said sit down. What are you doing? You working for the law?
Go.
How much did you sell out for, you dumb, lousy tomato? I didn't trust you from the minute I set eyes on you. Hutch thinks he's so smart. Well, you see what happens when he finds out. He had a go for you. Big him.
Let me out of here.
Sit down, Era. Now sit in that chair. I'll slam you so hard you'll never wake up.
All right. Yeah.
Just sit there until I answer the phone. Hello?
Ginger?
Yeah, Hutch, listen.
You listen to me.
Hutch.
You's been moved up to tonight.
Hutch,
I got no time to talk about it. I want to get this thing through before daylight. Meet me at the cabin in an hour.
Hutch. Hello, Hutch. All right, sister. You and me going for a ride.
Where?
Out to a cabin on Lake Bourne.
I don't want to go. Where's Hutch?
Sit still there. Hutch will be there. Don't be so anxious to see Hutch. What do you think's going to happen to you when he finds out you pal around with cops? You don't like being made a chump of, you know. Now, get up and walk out that door.
Sergeant Gervais.
Cooper, Sergeant.
Yes, Ed?
Ginger and Ellie left the joint a little while ago. He took her in the car and they drove out over the bridge.
To where?
That's what I'd like to know. We lost them.
All right, Ed. Stick with it. We must be coming down to the wire. I'll get hold of Art Sampson and the narcotics men. Check with me in 10 minutes.
Go on, sister, walk.
Can't see where I'm going.
I can see where you're going. Just walk. Now you're untouchable.
To you, I am.
You'll be untouchable, all right, when we get through with you. Dump you out here in this swamp, and that's all, sister. Here we are. Nice little cabin, isn't it? Nice and isolated. But we keep a good heavy lock on it. We're afraid of thieves. You should always look out for thieves. All right, get inside.
Yeah.
Now over there and sit down.
Can't see.
Don't worry about it. Here's a chair. Now sit down right here. Make yourself good and comfortable while I light the lantern. I like lanterns. Nice and old-fashioned. What's the matter? Why don't you say something?
I don't feel very conversational.
Well, I do, sister. So we'll talk, huh? How do you like the cabin? Not much in the way of modern stuff, but it's comfortable. And away from people. Sometimes you want to be away from people, don't you?
Sometimes.
For instance, when Hutch gets here and finds out you've been on such nice terms with cops, he'll want to be away from people. Because what he's going to do to you, people shouldn't know about.
You've got some bad information someplace. I didn't talk to any cops.
What were they then, bookmakers?
Leave me alone.
You'll get left alone. You'll get left good and alone. Good and alone. Hey, don't touch that lantern.
Get away.
Put that lantern down.
Come one step nearer and you'll get it across the head. I swear you'll get it across the head.
Put it down. What do you want to do, burn up the joint?
Don't come any closer.
All right, sister. You win. I'll be a good girl.
Give it to you.
What, you little...
No.
You're burning the joint up.
To do some more, too.
Don't scratch me, you little devil. I'll kill you right here, right now.
Let me go.
Let you go, I'll kill you.
No, please.
Oh, still.
Oh, my dress.
That's the least of your worries. Look at the joint. No, to kill you, let you burn up. I don't know what's going on here.
Hutch, help.
Ginger, let her go. Hutch, you know what she's doing? Let her go. Hutch, let her go. But Hutch. All right. Hutch, no, don't. Hutch.
Oh, no.
What did you try to do? Why'd he bring you here?
I don't know. He said you wanted to see me. When we got here, he tried to get fresh.
He never could stay in his own territory and anything. It was coming to him sooner or later. Come on, baby, let's get out of here. The whole place will be in flames in another minute.
You going to leave him like that?
Nothing will help him now. And who wants to? Come on.
Yeah. Oh.
All right, hurry now. Car's this way.
Hello, Pete. Any word from her?
No, Sanson, nothing.
I think she's in trouble.
I don't know. I got men planted at Hutch's place, her place, the joint, everywhere. Not a sign.
Well, I guess all we can do is...
Kidding.
Yeah.
Sergeant Gervais.
Hello, Sergeant Cooper.
Any sign of them, Ed?
I think I got bad news, Sergeant.
What is it?
Well, there was a report of a cabin on fire out at Lake Bourne.
Yeah?
The officers who went to the scene found a car nearby. Ginger's car.
Any sign of Ellie or Ginger?
Well, there's at least one body in the cabin, Sergeant. They can't tell who it is, man, woman, or what.
Where are you, Ed?
5th Precinct Station.
All right, stay there. Art Sampson and I'll be right over.
You feel all right now, Ellie?
Yeah, I think so. He's much better.
Don't you worry about Ginger. If it wasn't over this, he would have gotten it over something else. Look, Ellie.
Yeah?
I'm on the spot. Ginger and I had a business deal on. It would have taken both of us. We were supposed to meet a guy in exactly 40 minutes from now.
At the cabin?
No, someplace else. Every time we have one of these deals, we meet first at the cabin just to make sure we're not being tailed. You know what kind of business I'm really in, don't you, Ellie?
I've got a good idea.
Look, Ellie, will you help me?
What do I have to do?
Just go to church.
Church?
Yeah. You go to a pew that I show you. You sit down next to a man I tell you about. You give him a package. He'll give you a package.
What's in the package?
You'll give him his money. Lots of it.
I can guess what's in the other.
The game? All right, Ellie. Wait here.
Yeah.
See that man there? Man the second to last pew right near the aisle?
With the brown suit?
Yeah. Go sit down next to him. Tell him you're from Hutch. He'll give you his package. You give him this one.
All right.
What's the matter?
You'd think you could find a better place to do this.
This is the best. When you make a change, come right back here. Go on.
Yeah. Excuse me. May I sit there?
Sit right down.
Thanks. I'm from Hutch.
Take it.
Here's yours.
Yeah. Go on now. Get going.
All right. Excuse me. Got it, Hutch. Here it is.
You hold it. Go on outside. I'll get the door.
All right.
Go on, Ellie. Now I'll take the package.
Here. Gives me the creeps.
Gives me a good living. Now stay down the steps and walk to the car.
All right.
You! Wait, Ellie. Cops.
Oh, my.
Come on, back into the church. Stop where you are. You're up there, too. You take the package.
No, I don't want it. It's your baby, Hutch.
Ellie, you're with him.
But get
Why,
Hutch.
you crummy little... Kill her! Kill her! Get your hands off of me! I'll kill her! Watch out! There, I got him. Let me up, you mousy runt! Here's a little more for you.
Hello, Holden.
Yeah, I guess it will.
The other one, inside.
He's being taken care of. We're a little worried about you, Ellie.
I was a little worried about myself. Ginger found out who I was, but Hutch shot him before he could say a word.
Yeah, that's the way we figured it. How'd you get him to take you by the house? If he hadn't have done that, we never would have picked up the trail again.
My dress was torn. I told him I wanted to change it. Oh, is everything all right? Have you got the evidence you need?
We've got more than we need. Hutch isn't going to see the light of day again except through bars.
And that, Gangbusters listeners, was how this case came to a close on the steps of a New Orleans church. Hutch was tried in a Louisiana court for manslaughter and convicted. He also pleaded guilty to Harrison Act charges in federal court and received an additional sentence. Right now, it appears as if he'll never again be a free man.
Well, thank you, Superintendent Joseph L. Schering, for this most enlightening case history.
Tonight's Gangbusters case was dramatized by Stanley Niss and directed by George Zachary, with Barbara Weeks, Wendell Holmes, and Ralph Bell in leading roles. Roger Foster speaking.
Proudly we hail. From New York City, where the American stage begins, here is another program with a cast of outstanding players. Public service time has been made available by this station for your Army and your Air Force to bring you this story, as proudly we hail the United States Army. Our story is entitled Indestructible Sergeant. This is the story of an indestructible sergeant, Sergeant First Class Robert Forties of the U.S. Army, and all the men of the 82nd Airborne, the 14th Armored, and the 2nd Infantry Division. Today, your rapidly expanding United States Army needs intelligent young men with ability and ambition. Men intelligent enough to recognize the vital need for a strong armed force. Men with ability enough to be trained in a necessary job. Men with ambition enough to secure the future for themselves and their loved ones. Does this description fit you? Can you qualify? For full information on how you can fit in with the finest, check with your nearest United States Army and United States Air Force recruiting station now. And now your Army and your Air Force present the proudly we hail production, Indestructible Sergeant.
Come in.
Miss Foley?
Yes.
Well, I'm Sergeant Forties, the ROTC instructor here.
Sergeant Forties?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
The principal said you were running some kind of a qualification survey on teachers and staff, if you aren't the one.
Oh, yes, I'm the one doing it, but... Well, please sit down, Sergeant.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, now, in your case, Sergeant, I'm not quite sure how to begin. I see now that I do have your card here, but...
What's the matter? The questions pretty personal?
No, not too personal. The thing is, the survey's supposed to cover professional training and experience of a sample group of high school teachers from all over the state, but... but you're the first ROTC instructor I've met, and I'm not sure these standard
questions...
questions...
Well, Miss Foley, in the Army, one way or another, I've probably filled out enough forms to paper this room. Why don't we just try seeing how it goes?
Well, I suppose that's all we can do. Now, by this card, your name is Robert Forties.
That's right.
Forties.
That's right.
Sergeant First Class, United States Army, on detached service. Age 30, married, one child. Oh, dear, now we get to it. Subject taught. Would that be basic military training?
Yeah, that's probably close enough.
And then it's first studies, degrees, extension work.
Well, I'm afraid you'll have to count me out on the degrees. I was 17 when I went up to Canada to enlist, and I haven't rightly had time to catch up since.
17? You mean you started out with the Canadian Army before we even got into World War II?
The British. They were recruiting there, and I was finally shipped out to the 8th Army Airborne Brigade.
You saw combat with the British?
Well, pretty hard not to with the 8th. Holbrook, El Alamein. Anyway, I don't think you need that.
I'm supposed to put down your different teachers and all the places where you...
My teachers? Lieutenant Brister? Corporal McKay? Or was it Ronald? No, probably Jamie. Lance Corporal Jamie McKay.
What's up, Corporal?
Lieutenant says the balloon's headed. We can't knock out that bleeding machine gun up ahead.
What's the matter? Can't they get mortars on it, Jamie?
Not in time to help. We're supposed to be past the ravine by noon. It's 1 bloody 5. How now?
You want to volunteer or what?
I want grenades. How many have you got left?
3.
Oh, I've got 4. That'll be margin enough. Let's have those 3 of them.
Oh, wait a minute, Jamie. You try working up to that position on your own
And what, yeah?
Well, there ought to be somebody along to try and cover you. Once you get past those rocks, I can't do anything for you from here.
40s, you're a perishing lunatic to be asking for it, but I'd be glad to have you backing me up. The only thing is... Well, if you're coming, you're coming. Let's get on with it.
Now, wait a second, Jamie. Look, at your neck going on the block. What am I doing wrong?
Well, it's not your fault, mate. With that sharp eye you've got, it's no wonder you'll be trying for accurate fire when you can.
You mean I'm not getting my shots off fast enough?
There's no one can get them off fast enough, Bob. But up close this way, when the Jones might be popping out at you from anywhere, it has to be pulled up first, or Bob's your uncle, you catch it.
Well, gee, I haven't been trying to do more than half aim, at least when we're moving.
Make it even faster. If anything shows, don't wait to get your piece up. Don't wait for anything.
Yeah.
Now, squeeze away before you start thinking.
You mean just start blasting off?
That's right. Holding your rifle this way, your body will do the aiming for you. Then with your man hit anyway, you'll have time for proper aim or for dealing with his mate, see?
All right, okay, Corporal. Get started and I'll see what I can do.
You know, it'll have to be a run for it from here. There's no cover up beyond.
Well, how close after you do I come?
Well, give me a bit of a start, then come weaving after me like Billy-O. But don't forget that. If any edge shows, fire first and zero in after.
Right. Luck to you, Jamie.
Okay.
Yeah, we got him!
Oh, sweet going, Jamie. Sweet going.
Up the 8th. Come on, you perishing, bleeding beauties. We're moving up.
Bob Forties didn't get to try the corporal's snap shooting trick for a week, but then when he needed it, it saved his life and possibly 2 more. That was in May 42. But you can't snap shoot against an 88, and that's what tagged Jamie and Bob the same day. Both caught shrapnel, both landed in the same Cairo hospital. On the day when Bob walked down on his own to be discharged...
Did my orders come yet, sister?
Your orders, soldier?
Yes, ma'am. Back to my outfit.
No, I'm afraid not.
But I've been discharged, haven't I? The doctor said
Yes, you've been discharged, but...
Hey, this yank making trouble, sister.
Jamie! Hey, I thought you cleared out a week ago.
I did, but they've had me on supply for a few days. Getting the hang of these new bazookas they're starting to come in.
Bazookas?
What is that? How you say?
Yeah.
Bazookas?
Uh-huh.
Hey, is that a ruddy red Indian name or what?
Oh, come on. Never mind the bazookas. Jamie, how is it my orders haven't come through yet?
Well, just what I was coming to tell you. You haven't heard?
Heard what?
Poor lad. And you tried so hard. We're not taking you back, young Mr. Forties.
What?
You're out of a job. Through with the British Army. Well, you'll probably find something to do here in Cairo. Polishing boots or maybe having a go at peddling.
Corporal, stop tormenting the poor boy. I shall tell him myself. Promise or no promise?
Sister. You know about my orders and the corporal here got you
You've got an army of your own these days, Bob. As of this week, you and all these here wild Yanks like you are being switched to American service.
The American Army? Jamie, you wouldn't... Now, look, you wouldn't be...
tea and bloaters for you, young 40s, and on with the K-ration. From this week out, you're an American soldier.
Now, I have that about your being transferred to the American Army, Sergeant. And here where it says different schools, I suppose I can...
Well, you can make it the U.S. 82nd Airborne for the first one after North Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Then in 45, I was reassigned to the 14th Armored.
Oh, wait a minute, Sergeant.
Yeah.
Wasn't the 82nd Airborne dropped behind the lines in Normandy on D-Day?
June 6, 1944, Miss Foley, if you couldn't get Bob Forties to confirm it for you. Those quiet apple orchards, fishing ports, and hedge-lined fields of Normandy had been locked up inside Hitler's fortress Europe and marked out of bounds for free men. But the young American soldiers from Kansas City, Louisville, and Bridgeport, who went in along with the British and the Free French that morning, the youngsters from 1,000 towns and farms, they didn't always believe in signs. That day, they cracked Hitler's fortress Europe wide open and for keeps. And one of the first paratroopers of the 82nd who bailed out into the roaring slipstream in those early hours was chunky young Bob Forties.
Hey, Leo? That you, Leo?
No, it's Forties. Who's that, Lou Myers?
Yeah, that's right. Hey, you know, Bob, I thought for a minute there you were Leo Dombrowski.
Yeah?
Gee, they sure tossed us out wide.
Make contact with the lieutenant yet?
Hey, look, Sergeant, all my life I've been hearing about these beautiful French babes. Here we finally get to France, and what's on your mind? Officers.
All right, come on, Lou. Cut out the clown.
Okay. No contact with anybody. Babes, lieutenants, or the Krauts.
Yeah.
By my compass, Rid North ought to split that apple tree over there, huh?
Yeah, we were dropped south of the Assembly Point Road. All right, let's get over there and do some linking up.
Okay. Which way do we head after we form on the road?
West. St. Marie de Glace is about a mile over.
Yeah? What goes when we get there?
Well, we take and hold, that's all I know.
What if the Krauts have armor on the road?
Well, we deal with it and keep on for the village.
We deal with it?
Sure, they're starting now. That's some of our stuff out in the road.
Yeah, Bob. That is our stuff. By the way it sounds...
Well, this is 1 year. You get your 4th of July a month ahead of time, Lou. Come on, let's get up to that road.
Bob Forties and the men of the 82nd Airborne wrote their own passports to France that day and made them good against all the murderous firepower Hitler's crack units tried to throw at them. Within weeks, in the center and the south, the once arrogant Nazi legions were being driven back toward the west wall of Germany itself. To the north, though, in the lowlands of Holland, stubborn fighting still lay ahead for the 82nd. Bob Forties picked up some more shrapnel in Normandy, this time in his right arm, but he made a fast recovery and was dispatched on his second combat jump in September 44.
Okay, all you guys. We're over the tulip country. Start checking up.
Bob.
Yeah, Skip. What is it?
Look, this is my first combat drop coming up, but they say you jumped in Normandy on D-Day. Was it pretty rough?
Not the jump.
Well, after you got down?
Yeah, for a while.
And you figure it'll be rough down at this bridge we're trying to find?
Well, I'll tell you one way to guarantee it, Skip. Hit down there hungry and don't have time to break out rations.
You can think about eating now.
Come on, get a couple of those sandwiches down. I'm telling you, you're going to be hungry as a wolf before tonight if you don't.
Gee, all I've been concentrating on is those first couple of minutes when we hit whatever's down there. Here you are, figuring I'm going to be right along with you, griping for chow tonight.
Well, there's no way you can do your fighting up here, Skip. Let's see now. Yeah, these look like a beef and a ham. All right, take your pick.
A couple of minutes ago, I couldn't figure on anything.
Beef or ham, Skip? Make up your mind.
Guess maybe I'll try the beef.
All right.
Thanks, Bob. I think I'll be okay now.
With just one sandwich?
Just one guy next to me who's been through this before.
Okay, we're running in. Action stations and hook up. Action stations.
Okay, Bob. See you in Shaw Line tonight.
Okay, she's open. Chins in and go as you're tapped. Asking box. Yo! Look at her. Hurry. Over.
So Bob Forties leaped into the ferocious Nazi ring around Arnhem. Leading a patrol probing for gaps in the tightening ring about the bridges over the lower Rhine, he was responsible for knocking out a Nazi tank single-handedly. It was this kind of quick-thinking courage, matched in unit after unit, that enabled the Allied jumpers to fight their way out of a supposedly unbreakable trap. Transferred later to the 14th Armored Division, Bob Forties was wounded in the left leg early in 45, but recovered in time to take part in the final victory drive into Germany.
Sergeant Forties?
Yes, Miss Foley.
This has to be all, doesn't it? They couldn't possibly have shipped you out into the Pacific after you'd gone
No, not then. I didn't get to the Pacific until I'd re-enlisted and shipped out for Korea.
You are listening to the proudly we hail production Indestructible Sergeant. Our story will continue in just a moment after this important message. Young man, let's talk about your future and America's future. They're important to each other, you know. Today, your United States Army is charged with a vital responsibility. You need only to glance at your local newspaper to realize how vital. And to meet this responsibility, the Army is rapidly expanding its forces. They have a job for you, a job that must be done by men of courage. You can get full details of how you may best serve your future and your country's future by a visit to your nearest United States Army and United States Air Force recruiting station today. You are listening to Proudly We Hail, and now we present the second act of Indestructible Sergeant.
Sergeant Forties, I know I shouldn't be asking you all this, but since we've started...
Now, go ahead, Miss Foley. As I said before, if you've got your survey form to fill out, let's try to get through the questions.
You say you re-enlisted in the Army in 47.
That's right, New Year's Day, 47. I was assigned to the Airborne School at Fort Benning as an instructor. I guess I put in more than a year there.
Good. That gives me an entry under previous teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Were you instructing in parachute jumping?
Jumping, weapons, field problems.
And you stayed in airborne service
until I was switched over to the 2nd Division at 49 and got into a heavy mortar company.
The 2nd Infantry Division?
When the new enemies of the free world struck in Korea, the 2nd Infantry Division, one of the first American units, shipped out. With the 9th Regiment of the 2nd, as a squad leader in a heavy mortar company, went Bob Forties, the Indestructible Sergeant. On the troop transport as it plowed west through the Pacific.
Hi, Sergeant.
Hello, Eddie.
You still counting those waves out there?
No, I'm just working up ambition enough to fight that chow line. How is it now?
Well, not too tough. I got through it in half an hour.
Well, maybe I better get down there.
No, time enough. The line's still thinning out.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Sergeant, there's something I've been wanting to ask you. You're married, aren't you?
Yeah, 6 years.
Kids?
Boy named Davy.
How old?
Well, he'll probably be 4 before I get back.
Okay.
What do you mean? For what?
Dealing me some advice. See, back at Fort Lewis there, I met up with a girl just a couple of months before we shipped out. Nicest kid I ever met in my life. Not only that, but she was crazy enough to think I was okay.
Well, good going.
No, not so good. The way we left it, we were going to get married when I got back, and now I got to finish a letter I started about 8 times telling her it's no dice.
Why?
You know the Army life. You never know what'll happen next. What kind of a deal's that to tie a nice kid like Amy in?
Wait a minute, Eddie. Is that what you want the advice on? How to finish up this letter, breaking it off with your girl?
Uh-huh. Well, I ought to have it ready before we land, and I just got to figure out some way of telling her without being too blunt about it. Hey, you got any ideas?
You better hit somebody else, Eddie. I don't see why you have to break it off.
Well, not even... Well, how did your wife take it when she heard you were going out this time?
My wife? Well, Eddie, Joan was kind of a special case. We were married in England back in March of 44, just about 3 months before the Normandy landing.
Oh.
And we both knew I was booked to go over.
Well, neither of you were ever sorry?
Well, this would have to be a guess, Eddie. But if Joan were on board and you asked her about this chop-it-off letter, I'd say she'd tell you to tear it up.
Well, maybe I will, but... Hey, wait a minute, Bob. You think I'm taking this Korean joint too big? That it's just a soft pitch we got coming up?
Well, I gotta go down and hit that chow line. But I'll take one more guess, though, Eddie. We'll get through the business coming up. But it won't be a soft pitch.
As we know now, it wasn't. In those first bad months when a few thousand Yanks stopped and threw back the waves of screaming communist fanatics who came clawing at the Pusan perimeter, heroism became standard operating procedure for nearly every man in combat.
Carlos! Right here, Sarge. Oh. Now get up some more cases of ammo for the BAR. Looks as if those lunatics are going to try coming through again.
Right.
Hey, Bob. Yeah. Oh, you getting low on grenades, Eddie?
No, I think I got enough. Doesn't it ever get you down?
What, the way they keep coming?
Well, to look at you, you'd think everything was number one, and we've been in trouble for days. Don't you ever get scared?
Eddie, I'm scared half to death right now with all those bugles and whistles and pans banging. Who wouldn't be?
Here's your ammo, Sarge.
Yeah.
Want another case now?
Oh, you better get back on your grease gun, Carlos. Now, here comes the next New Year's Eve party now. Hey, slow up a little, Carlos.
The Jeep's barely doing 30, Sarge.
Well, we're coming to that open stretch.
Look, I've made the run before. The way to play it is keep barreling right through.
You haven't been slowing up, you mean, while you've still got cover to make sure how it is out there?
I'm telling you, it's losing time for nothing. And with the upgrade there, it's hard to get rolling again the way we ought to run.
All right. Play it your way if you think you know what you're doing. But once you get out there, boy, keep pushing it.
Just relax, Sarge. I'm an old hot rod man.
Okay, you're driving.
See what I mean? Get yourself a good start, and you're halfway across.
Carlos, yank her off the road, pull up.
What's with you, Sarge? Just because one of our flyboys has to come
That
take me
plane's
down.
not one of ours, Carlos. It's Russian built. Now pull up and die for it.
There wasn't time to hit the ditch. When Bob Forties finally made it to a field aid station, there was new lead to be taken from his ripped-up left arm. Before the week was out, Bob rejoined his squad. In the summer of 1950, our troops were sticking in the lines until they were carried out. And although Bob Forties didn't know it then, he still had one final date to keep with those weird, suicidal invaders throwing themselves south at the murderous whim of a few men in Moscow. On August 31st, hammered back by overwhelming numbers, Bob's outfit was forced to pull out of a village near the Nakhtong River.
How's your squad, Sergeant?
All here but 3 men, Lieutenant.
They pretty bushed?
Well, we've been in better shape, but most of them just caught about 3 hours sleep. We'll be okay.
You ready to move in 20 minutes?
Lieutenant, we're not pulling back again.
No. No, we're heading back to retake that village, Sergeant. And this time we're going to hang on to it.
They retook it and did hang on for 3 days of 24-hour combat. On the evening of September 5th, Bob Forties and a single PFC were holding an outpost hill position against nearly 2 companies of North Koreans with a Browning automatic rifle and a couple of M45 submachine guns.
All right. Hold up. They're falling back again.
There's a pocket of them down behind those rocks about halfway up the hill. Maybe I could ricochet.
Well, we'll take them when they break cover.
Okay. Oh, lucky for us they haven't got mortars down there, Bob.
Yeah. If they had mortars, they could lay on us. We'd be out of here now.
In pieces. Popcorn size.
How are we for ammo?
Oh, still got a fair supply. Well, we could do with is about 18 more guys, maybe a couple of flamethrowers.
Yeah, well, if we can hang on here long enough, maybe we'll get them.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah?
You figure this hill's really worth hanging on to with no one linked in to back us up?
Well, the lieutenant said hold it if we could, Dave. The commies got enough men past here, and they can chew up Charlie Company before we'd ever get any armor up.
Well, how do we know Charlie Company hasn't bugged out already?
They're still over there. We would have gotten a double flare if they had to pull out.
All I know is we got about a regiment of maniacs leaning on us here.
Well, it can't be 2 companies, Dave.
Okay. Figure it low. 2 guys against 2 companies. What kind of odds are those?
I told you I'd cover you any time you want to pull out, Dave.
Oh, I'm stick it all in with you. Hey, look down there by the brook. They're coming across again.
All right, keep taking them on the left, Dave. I got the middle and this side.
Well, they do, Bob. Dope them up or what?
Well, I've heard they call it brainwashing, Dave. Wash the brains right out and put in a time bomb that goes off when the top boys pull the switch.
It's pretty fair laundry we're running right here.
Yeah.
They do with a lot less customers, though.
We got more clips for the other grease gun, Dave.
What about the BAR?
Oh, we've had it on ammo. Used up the final rounds this last time.
Wait a minute, Bob. We're down the last 3 clips on the M45s. That won't be enough.
All right. So we'll have to fake it if they try another climbing party. Maybe they'll just send a squad up after the losses they've been taking.
Oh, look, Bob, with only a clip and a half for each grease gun.
Dave, they don't know that yet. And we'll get relief here if we hold on long enough. Let's have one of those.
Hey, Bob. They're laying artillery on here.
Yeah, it's worse than that, Dave. They got a heavy mortar up.
Mortar fire? We're not dug in enough.
No. This means we got to pull out or be blown up in the next couple of minutes. All right, get started, Dave. I'll cover you.
You crazy, Bob. We both have to pull out now before they start rushing.
Get on, Dave. One clip and I'll be right after you.
Come on, Bob.
All right. Let's get scrambling. Dave!
It's okay. Just knock me down. Come on, let's get out of here.
All right, you crazy murdering Reds. You've got your hill, but you're going to take one more clip along with it.
The communists didn't get the hill to keep. The 2 men had held on long enough to allow reinforcements to be sent up. And then they dragged their way to the bottom of the hill. 4 new men were lugging an aircraft-mounted 50-caliber machine gun into action. After them came more to throw the North Koreans out before they could dig in. The hill was retaken, and that village on the Pusan perimeter was held. In fact, the whole perimeter was held. And then the forces of freedom mounted the counterattack that threw the invading Reds back across the 38th parallel in shattered retreat.
Sergeant Forties.
Yes, Miss Foley.
All you've told me about Korea was that you were in combat there up to September 1950, and then the doctors ordered you back to the States because of a leg wound.
Well, you don't need any more than that, do you?
No, not for this survey. If you aren't qualified to help teach military training after being wounded in the action you've seen in North Africa, Normandy, Germany, and Korea...
Miss Foley, I'm not qualified.
You're not?
Nobody's ever qualified all the way to teach a man all the soldiering he may have to know. But if I've picked up anything over in the ETO and out in Korea that can help these kids when they come up against trouble, I'm glad to be able to be here and pass it along.
Sergeant Forties, there's no place in this questionnaire for a comment from me, but, well, can I say we're glad to have you around.
Proudly we hail Sergeant First Class Robert Forties of the U.S. Army and all the men of the 82nd Airborne, the 14th Armored, and the 2nd Infantry Division. Here's a special message for the young men of our country. The United States Army, the senior service of our armed forces, is expanding rapidly and needs your help. By enlisting in the United States Army, you'll not only get the finest training in the world, but you'll have the special pride that goes with wearing a United States Army uniform. Why not get full details today? Visit your local United States Army and United States Air Force recruiting station. Enlist now. This has been another program on Proudly We Hail, presented transcribed in cooperation with this station. Proudly We Hail is produced by the Recruiting Publicity Center for the United States Army and United States Air Force Recruiting Service. This is Kenneth Banghart speaking and inviting you to tune in the same station next week for another interesting story on Proudly We Hail.
Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo present the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes, starring Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson and Tom Conway as Sherlock Holmes. Once again, it's time to drop in for a visit with our old friend, Dr. Watson, storyteller beyond compare and confidant of the immortal Sherlock Holmes. And here he is, waiting to greet us in his familiar study. Good evening, Dr. Watson. I must admit that on such a cold and foggy evening, your fireplace looks even more cheery than usual.
And a very good evening to you, Mr. Bell. Here, come and sit down.
This chair feels good. Thank you, Dr. Watson. Nasty night out.
Yes, it certainly is. In weather like this, I find my old wound gives me an occasional twinge. Giselle bullet, you know. Souvenir of a border skirmish in Afghanistan. Long before you were born, my boy.
I've always been amazed, Dr. Watson, that with all the tight spots you and Sherlock Holmes found yourselves in, you were fortunate enough to escape with only one bullet wound.
Yes, Holmes used to say that I was born to be hanged. But I can remember more than one narrow escape. As a matter of fact, there's a souvenir of one of them right before you on the mantelpiece.
On the mantelpiece? Oh. Small pot of ivy, a framed photograph of you and Mr. Holmes, 2 sporting prints, and a small blue saucer. Not very exciting.
You see, Mr. Bell, but you do not observe, as my friend Sherlock Holmes used to say.
Oh.
That small blue saucer from which an ordinary house cat was accustomed to eat its evening meal was the key that saved an innocent man from the shadow of the gallows and brought a fiendishly clever murderer to justice. You will find it among my notes under the heading of the clue of the hungry cat.
Dr. Watson, I can hardly wait for the story. But first, here's something I'd like to pass along to you men. Every up-and-coming man today wants to look like a success, and neatly groomed hair adds so much to a man's appearance. So may I please suggest Kreml Hair Tonic? See if you don't agree that there's all the difference in the world in Kreml. Kreml keeps dry, stubborn hair in perfect order from morning till night. It gives hair a nice, attractive luster, too. Yet Kreml never plasters hair down with thick, dust-catching grease. It never leaves hair looking or feeling sticky or gummy. Kreml goes in for modern, more natural-looking hair grooming. The kind in such great demand today. Why not try it, men? Kreml, Kreml Hair Tonic. Now, Dr. Watson, how about the clue of the hungry cat?
Well, Mr. Bell, it all began one day when Holmes and I, finding it a bit early for lunch as we walked down the Strand, turned into the Old Bailey, wondering if the jury had yet brought in the verdict in a sensational murder case which Holmes had been following in the papers with considerable interest. As we entered the courtroom, we heard the clerk of the court saying,
"Prisoner at the bar, you stand convicted of murder by the verdict of a jury of your peers. Have you anything to say before judgment is pronounced upon you?"
"Only, my lords and gentlemen of the jury, that I am innocent of this crime."
Silence in the court.
Robert Saunders, you have been found guilty of the murder of Amanda Post. The sentence of this court is that you be taken to that place from whence you came, and that 2 weeks from today, on the 12th of October, you be hanged by the neck until you are dead. May the Lord have mercy on your soul.
I must say that fellow Saunders had it coming to him, Holmes. Open and shut case if I ever heard one.
I wonder, Watson.
Oh, now really, Holmes, even you can't find anything to wonder about in the killing of that poor woman. Her husband was away, that fellow Saunders saw his chance, broke into the house, robbed Mr. Post's cash box, and evidently woke up Mrs. Post. He knew that she'd recognize him, so he made quite sure that she'd never testify, by choking the poor woman to death. He then tried to burn the house down to conceal his crime. If you ask me, hanging's too good for him.
The cash box is what intrigues me, Watson.
And what, pray, is intriguing about the cash box? Why, that fellow Saunders admitted that he stole £8 out of it.
Can you tell me, Watson, why any sane man, and I heard no testimony adduced to prove that Saunders was insane, should steal the sum of £8 out of a cash box that contained 65?
Well, let me see. Well, perhaps the fellow was suddenly frightened. Or the balance might have been in large notes that could have been traced. No way to the chops for me, the habits of Mr. Holmes.
Oh, very good, sir.
Sorry, Watson, but I can't accept your alternatives. Saunders' only defense, and I grant you that it was a feeble one, was that Mr. Post had owed him £8, and that was his reason for taking only that sum.
Oh, delicious. They do a chop here better than any place in London. I suppose you believe Saunders' story.
Despite your evident amusement, I do.
Well, all I can say, Holmes, is that... Look, that girl over there in the corner, the one who's crying into her handkerchief... Didn't we see her in the court just now?
Not only did we see her, but as you should know from the drawings which have been published in every newspaper these last few days, she's the fiancée of the convicted man.
I said, Holmes, where are you going?
Come on, Watson. My curiosity is aroused.
Good heavens. The last time your curiosity was aroused, I found myself in the Sahara Desert in the middle of July.
I beg your pardon, Miss Caldwell.
Oh.
I couldn't help noticing your evident distress. And although I don't wish to hold out any false hopes, let me assure you that I share your belief that your fiancé has been convicted of a crime of which he's innocent.
You really? Oh, leave me alone. You're another of those newspaper reporters.
I assure you, my dear, that I'm not. My name is Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes? Oh, Mr. Holmes, you really believe that Bob is innocent?
Your fiancé, Miss Caldwell, is a young man of good education and very evident intelligence. I cannot bring myself to believe that he stupidly and brutally killed Mrs. Post to conceal a minor theft.
Oh, Mr. Holmes, I can't tell you what it means to me just to hear you say that. Wait, even Mr. Briggs, when he was defending Bob in that horrible courtroom, didn't speak as though he believed Bob's own story. But it's true. I know it's true. I haven't much money, Mr. Holmes, but if
It's not a question of money, Miss Caldwell. I have an ingrained prejudice against seeing the innocent convicted. Suppose you come with Dr. Watson and myself while we pay a visit to the scene of the crime. As the next-door neighbor of the house where the tragedy occurred, Mrs. Roberts, won't you tell us in your own words just what happened?
Well, Mr. Holmes, although it was some time ago, it still catches me all of a sudden when I think of it. Fair takes me aback, it does. Sometimes I come all over dizzy like...
There's too much gin, if you ask me.
Quiet, Watson. I can well believe it, Mrs. Roberts.
But please, Mrs. Roberts, won't you tell Mr. Holmes what you remember?
Well, that morning Mr. Post was going away on business to Brighton. Going to be gone a couple of days, he was. Now, around noontime, I happened to look out of my window. Not that I'm the type that's forever minding other people's business, you'll understand. And I seen him a-standing in the front door just as he was a-saying goodbye to her.
Saying? But I understood from the evidence that Mrs. Post was stone deaf.
When I say saying, I mean he was waving goodbye to her, like he always did when he went away.
Did you see Mrs. Post wave back to him?
Well, in the manner of speaking, yes. At least I seen the curtain move inside the front parlour window, so I guess she was a-waving to him from inside.
It's fairly conclusive, Holmes. The poor woman was alive when her husband left, and she was dead after the fire. No one else could possibly have killed her.
Bob didn't. I don't care what you say.
And after Mr. Post left, Mrs. Roberts, what happened then?
Nothing. I was busy with me housework, frying up a nice bit of fish for me old man's supper I was, and I didn't notice nothing next door until about 8 o'clock that evening.
8 o'clock? But the fire wasn't until midnight.
But maybe it's silly of me to mention it. It wasn't anything important.
When a murder has been committed, Mrs. Roberts, no fact is unimportant.
Well, I never did. It was only at about 8 o'clock. A cat, Minnie, came scratching and yowling around me back door. Hungry she was.
Most enlightening.
No, really, Holmes.
Was that the cat's usual habit, Mrs. Roberts?
No. Amanda Post was loony about that cat. Gave it its supper every night at 6 regular. Liver she used to feed it at 6 a pound. Now that's scandalous if you ask me, with poor people starving.
Yes, I see. Then what did you do?
Well, I fed the cat, and then I went to bed. And the old man and I were as sound asleep as two blessed angels in paradise when we heard the fire engines.
No, Harrigan. The place is going out like a tinderbox. If there's anyone in there, there's nothing we can do for them now.
Oh, it was horrible hearing them say that, Mr. Holmes. We were still thinking that deaf as she was, poor Mrs. Post had not been awakened to the crackle of the flames. And it wasn't until the next day, when the men from Scotland Yard were looking around the wreckage, that they told us that she'd been strangled in her bed before the fire ever started. Strangled by that smooth-spoken, murdering young devil, that Robert Sanders.
No, it isn't true. That's a lie. Bob couldn't
Control yourself, please, my dear Miss Caldwell. Thank you, Mrs. Roberts. I greatly appreciate the assistance you've given us. Good day.
Oh, not at all, Mr. Holmes. It's been a pleasure, I'm sure.
But, Mr. Holmes, all that woman's evidence came out in court. There's nothing there to help you set Robert free.
Yes, I'm afraid you're right. I'm dashed if I can make head or tail out of that stream of nonsense that woman spouted at us.
Don't be too hasty, Watson. I should like to call your attention to the curious incident of Minnie's supper.
But that night the cat didn't get her supper.
That was the curious incident.
Holmes, will you put down that violin for a moment and pay attention?
This is the third time since we got home that you've interrupted what I'm sure might prove a magnificent composition, my dear Watson. What's the matter now?
Well, listen to this note. My dear Mr. Holmes, may I request your immediate presence at my home on a matter of the greatest possible importance. I enclose my cheque for 500 guineas as a retainer, signed Geoffrey Brookfield. In brackets, the Earl of Brookfield. 500 guinea retainer. You calmly sit here on Baker Street playing the violin.
If you like, you may write to Lord Brookfield and tell him that the paintings over which he's so worried have been sold by his son to provide jewels for the dancer with whom the young man is enamored. And send his cheque back to him with my compliments. Come in.
Yes, Mrs. Hudson, what is it?
A gentleman to see Mr. Holmes, sir. Mr. Post.
Mr. Post?
Oh, yes. Show him up, will you, please?
Yes, sir.
You act as though you expected this fellow Post.
When I put a ferret down a hole, Watson, I usually do so in expectation of starting a rabbit.
You mean those questions of yours, Mrs. Roberts, this afternoon?
Huh? Our garrulous friend, Mrs. Roberts, is not the type to keep a visit from Sherlock Holmes a secret from the neighborhood.
Mr. Post, Mr. Holmes.
Good evening, Mr. Post.
Mr. Sherlock Holmes?
Quite. And this is my friend and colleague, Dr. Watson.
Good evening, sir.
Doctor.
Won't you sit down?
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. I prefer to stand. I must confess I'm somewhat upset by what my former neighbor, Mrs. Roberts, told me this evening.
Oh? What was that?
That you and Dr. Watson and that young woman were asking questions this afternoon.
There's nothing for you to be upset about, Mr. Post. But I confess that the unfortunate matter of your late wife's death had certain features which seemed to me odd, shall we say.
But this morning, Saunders was found guilty and condemned to be hanged.
I'm aware of that. But as long as you're here, Mr. Post, I'm sure you won't mind answering a question or two.
Not at all. Though I fail to see
do sit down, Mr. Post. You're making me nervous, walking back and forth, back and forth.
I'm awfully sorry, Doctor. Ever since this horrible thing happened, I can't seem to sit
Oh,
still.
yes, of course. I'm so sorry.
This fellow Sanders, a former employee of yours, wasn't he, Mr. Post?
He was. I sacked him. Fellow was always nosing about things that didn't concern him.
And according to him, you still owed him £8 back wages.
Oh, not a bit of truth to it.
I'm sure there wasn't. After all, a matter of £8 could mean very little to you. You'll pardon my mentioning it, Mr. Post, but you must be a man of considerable wealth now.
If you mean since my wife's death, yes, I am. When I came to England from Australia a couple of years ago, all I had was a few £100 and some business experience. I met and married my dear Amanda within the past year, Mr. Holmes, and a finer wife no man ever had. I can assure you that I'd give all the wealth she left me, and a dozen times over, to have her back with me.
Of course. The sentiment does you credit, sir.
Quite. And now that I've met you, Mr. Post, let me assure you that any doubts I may have had in the matter are entirely resolved.
I'm glad to hear it, Mr. Holmes. You'll pardon my intrusion, but, well, you understand.
Yes, indeed, sir, indeed.
Good night, gentlemen.
Good night, sir.
Good night, Mr. Post.
Pleasant fella. Well, Holmes, I'm glad that your doubts are finally being set at rest.
Yes. Any lingering doubts I may have had as to Sanders' innocence have now been completely removed.
Huh? Sanders' innocence?
Watson, does it occur to you that there's something about our friend Mr. Post that doesn't quite ring true?
Oh, come, Holmes. Seemed to me a fine, upstanding fellow.
But did you happen to notice his curious way of pacing up and down?
Well, the poor man's overwrought. Probably can't keep still. It's natural enough, being a doctor.
Our sitting room, Watson, is 23 feet in length, with no obstructions in the area where Mr. Post chose to do his pacing. Yet he turned automatically again and again at each end of what I estimate to be an 8-foot walk.
8 foot? Oh, what are you driving at?
8 feet, Watson, happens to be exactly the length of a prison cell.
In just a moment, we'll rejoin Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson as they try to solve the mystery of the strange death of Amanda Post. Did you know that a recent survey showed Kreml hair tonic was the hair tonic preferred among America's top-flight executives and better-dressed men? Well, this isn't at all surprising, because Kreml is famous for giving hair that smooth, well-groomed appearance, for which there is no substitute. And what's so important, Kreml does lots more than just keep hair looking handsome. Kreml removes dandruff flakes. It promptly relieves itching of scalp due to dryness and actually helps condition the hair, in that it leaves it feeling so much softer. Notice how much easier your hair is to comb, how every lock falls right in place and stays that way all day long. And remember, whereas Kreml gives hair a rich, attractive luster, it never leaves hair looking or feeling greasy. Ask for an application of Kreml at your barber shop. Buy a bottle at any drugstore. Kreml, Kreml Hair Tonic. And now, Dr. Watson, what did Sherlock Holmes do after he called your attention to the odd behavior of Mr. Post?
Well, it was too late that night for us to do anything, although Holmes did send off a cable to Australia asking for all available information on the mysterious Mr. Post. But bright and early the next morning, Holmes and I set off in a hansom cab, almost before I'd finished my breakfast. Our destination being the fire brigade station, nearest the late Mrs. Post's house.
You're convinced the fire was incendiary, Captain?
Oh, no question in my mind at all, Mr. Holmes. Blazing like a Guy Fawkes piece it was by the time we got there. After we finally had her wetted down, there was a smell of paraffin oil strong enough to choke you all over the place.
So you very rightly sent for the police?
Oh, I did that, sir, just as soon as I found that poor woman lying dead in her bed, or was left of it. Though I thought she died of suffocation.
Well, the medical evidence that she'd been strangled before the fire started was clear enough. I know Dr. Richardson, a sound man, very sound.
And it was you who found the cash box, Captain?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. Being of stout metal, it hadn't come to no harm. Very hot fire like that sometimes is a freakish way of burning some things to a crisp and leaving others almost undamaged. The thing we often see in our business.
I wish I could have inspected the house the morning after the fire. Watson, this shows you the disadvantage of attempting to follow a cold trail.
Well, I'm sure I don't know what you expect to find.
I don't know myself, but there must be something.
Perhaps it won't do you any good, Mr. Holmes, because it's a regular ragbag collection of odds and ends. But most of the things from Mrs. Post's bedroom are right back there on that table in the corner. Those that weren't too badly burned. They would have been thrown out this morning. The police made us keep them until after the trial.
Capital.
Well, you're welcome to take a look at them, sir.
Phew. Smells more like a salvage sale. Curious-looking collection. And what is that horrible-looking object?
Some kind of a stuffed fish that was mounted on a plank. It says, souvenir of Brighton. And over there is the poor woman's horsehair pillow. That's hot stuff to burn.
What's this?
A Bible with its covers burned off. And an alarm clock that had been on the bureau. It was still running when we picked it up, as a matter of fact.
Set for noon, I see.
And this strange-looking thing turned out to be the late Mrs. Post's corset. All that was left of it.
Rather gruesome, I must say. Makes me think of the relics we'll all have to leave behind when we shuffle off this mortal coil, eh?
Don't be morbid, Watson.
And here's some silver that was on the dresser. And these pieces of the pitcher and basin and the soap dish. I'm afraid that's the whole collection.
Well, not much to be learnt from that, eh, Holmes?
As I've told you on previous occasions, Watson, you see, but you do not observe.
And what, may I ask, is to be observed from this insanitary and odorous collection?
Only enough, I trust, to remove Robert Sanders from the shadow of the gallows and to substitute the estimable Mr. Post in his place.
Good gracious me.
Would you be good enough, Watson, to ring for Mrs. Hudson?
All right, Holmes, if you say so, but how you expect to frighten Post into confessing that he murdered his wife and then set the house on fire while he was 50 miles away in Brighton is beyond me.
You are in possession of the same facts that I am, Watson, and since you know my methods, you should be able to reach the same conclusions. I must admit... Come in.
You rang, Mr. Holmes?
We're expecting a visitor, Mrs. Hudson. Mr. Post, who was here last night.
Oh, I remember him, sir. A very nice gentleman. He tipped me a shilling on his way out.
I have reason to think that he'll be here very shortly. Will you show him up as soon as he arrives?
All right, sir.
You were saying?
I was about to say that the problem no longer lies in the solution of the crime. That, of course, is obvious to anyone.
Well, yes, of course. Certainly obvious.
The difficulty is I haven't a shred of evidence. Therefore, the only possibility of justice being done is through forcing a confession from Mr. Post by suddenly facing him with an utterly unexpected reconstruction of what actually happened. I'd suggest, Watson, that you arm yourself with your service revolver. I have reason to think that Mr. Post may react violently.
Really? Loaded and ready. But I do think, Holmes, that if you're so sure that Post is the murderer, you might at least tell the police.
I very much doubt if Scotland Yard would admit itself completely in the wrong without proof, which, of course, I haven't got. No, Watson, Come in.
Good evening, Mr. Holmes. Dr. Watson.
Good evening.
I received your note, Mr. Holmes, asking me to call on you at once on a matter of the greatest importance.
I'm sorry to trouble you at this hour of night, Mr. Post, but there have been one or two puzzling questions in connection with your wife's death which have been bothering Dr. Watson and myself.
But I thought you said last night that all your doubts had been resolved.
They had, Mr. Post, but I didn't specify what doubts.
I'm afraid you're being a bit cryptic. I must beg you, Mr. Holmes, to come to the point.
Very well, Mr. Post. Let me present to you a reconstruction of what I can only term a highly ingenious crime.
I'm listening.
A certain man who, for the moment, shall be nameless, meets and courts a wealthy woman who, despite the handicap of her deafness, is still attractive, and marries her.
Very interesting, Mr. Holmes.
Then, ruthlessly and in cold blood, he strangles this poor, foolish, credulous woman, knowing that under her will he will inherit her fortune.
I know what you're insinuating, and
Then you admit...
I admit nothing. There's no reason why I have to stay here and listen to you insult my wife's memory.
Sit down, Mr. Post. You don't dare leave till you discover just how much I really do know.
Very well, Mr. Holmes. And just how does this man do what you say he did without getting caught?
After he's strangled her, and his other preparations have been made, he stands in the front door of their house, ostensibly waving goodbye to the wife who already lies dead upon her bed.
Holmes, Mrs. Roberts said that...
The fond farewell is answered, Watson, by a curtain that moves in one of the front windows. Who is there to know that the curtain has merely moved at the twitch of a string held in the murderer's hand?
At least, Mr. Holmes, I must congratulate you on your ingenuity.
But there were a couple of things the husband overlooked. First, Minnie, his wife's pet cat. Minnie comes to the back door at the usual hour. Her plaintive scratchings produce no result. And why? Because the wife who usually feeds Minnie already lies dead.
That's what you meant, Holmes.
Precisely, Watson. After which the house is silent until midnight. when suddenly a fire breaks forth. A fire of such intensity as to consume almost all the evidence of the crime. And, most important of all, a fire which was meant to produce in the eye of the beholder an unshakable alibi for the husband, who at that moment was so far away. The fact that Sanders chose to break in that same night was sheer good luck for the murderer, for it gave the police a ready-made suspect.
And now let me ask you one question, Mr. Holmes. Just how did the husband of whom you speak produce this conflagration while he was at least 50 miles away?
Probably by means of some simple attachment connected to the alarm clock in his wife's room, which was set to go off at 12 midnight, Watson, not 12 noon, as you surmised.
Good heavens, Holmes.
An attachment which was later destroyed by the heat of the fire.
Very pretty piece of fiction, Mr. Holmes. Of course, it would never stand up in a court of law.
I'm not so sure, Mr. Post.
Oh, I am. After all, it would just be your word against mine.
Yes. The word of Sherlock Holmes against that of an ex-convict.
Wait, you...
Two of whose previous wives died in Australia under suspicious circumstances.
I won't listen to any more.
What's been said is sufficient.
They'll never get me for those other two, nor for this one.
Then you'll do it, me.
Yes, yes! I killed my wife, but you'll never see me...
Nice work, Watson. Is he badly hurt?
I don't think so. Just a flesh wound in his shoulder. Knocked him out for a few minutes, that's all. He'll live, I'm afraid.
Watson, if you hadn't shot first...
Oh, there's nothing, my dear fellow, nothing at all. Don't mention it, fella. Tell me, how did you ever deduce that whole story just from the fact that the cat didn't get her supper?
I didn't, Watson.
Oh, you said that...
The incident of the cat's supper served to make me suspicious. I only became certain at the fire station when I saw the alarm clock.
But, Holmes, I saw that alarm clock. Seemed like a perfectly ordinary clock to me.
As I remarked before, Watson, you see, but you do not observe. Why would a woman who is stone deaf have set an alarm clock to waken her at 12 o'clock?
Well, of all the blind idiots...
Quite. And now, chap, ring for Mrs. Hudson, will you? I think perhaps the police might be interested in our friend, Mr. Post.
Was Mr. Post convicted, Dr. Watson?
He was, Mr. Bell, when he was confronted with the evidence in court, plus the cablegram that Holmes had received from Australia, telling about Post's rather murky past. He went all to pieces, broke down and confessed everything. Of course, Robert Sanders was immediately set free.
I see. And now, Dr. Watson, before you tell us about next week's story, may I ask our lady listeners this question?
Oh, of course, my dear fellow, of course.
Did you know that the makers of Kreml Hair Tonic also make a remarkably beautifying shampoo? Yes, and quite naturally, it's called Kreml shampoo. The famous Powers models were among the first to discover its amazingly beautifying action. And here's their consensus of opinion.
There's nothing better than Kreml shampoo to keep hair shining bright for days. Each tiny strand just gleaming with natural glossy luster.
Kreml shampoo works like magic, even in the hardest water. Its rich, active foam penetrates right to the scalp and removes all loose dandruff as well as the dirt.
Oh, and don't forget about its beneficial oil base. This helps keep hair from becoming dry or brittle and leaves the hair so much softer and silkier.
We always use Kreml shampoo at our house, and my wife is smart. She buys the large family size. Kreml, Kreml shampoo. And now, Dr. Watson, what about next week?
Well, let me see. Next week I think I'll tell you about the incredible and rather grim happenings that transpired in the ancestral home of the Burleys on the storm-swept Cornish coast, and how Sherlock Holmes once again came to grips with that arch-fiend of crime, the sinister Professor Moriarty.
Tonight's new Sherlock Holmes adventure was suggested by an incident in Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Boscombe Valley Mystery. Nigel Bruce appeared by permission of California Pictures, and Tom Conway through the courtesy of Eagle Lion Pictures. This is Joseph Bell speaking for Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo, and inviting you to be with us next week at this same time, when Dr. Watson will tell us about Sherlock Holmes' encounter with Professor Moriarty. is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
Beat the racket. One for the birds. Beat it. See the manager tomorrow. Go on now. But you don't understand, Mr. Daniels. He's a man. Out of my way, Torello. Out, Torello, you might get hurt. This is no fiddle in the state. I must see that, Mr. Daniels. Mr. Daniels, what are you doing? How did there's your friend? I'm here you say yourself is a horseshoe table. Is a horseshoe is a for luck. Luck, brains, Torello. You haven't got any. Well, you'll be out of here by now. Don't shoot, Mr. Daniels. Not to your friends out there. Don't shoot. Hold everything, fellas. I've got a surprise for you.
In the interest of good citizenship and law enforcement, we present Crime Does Not Pay, based on the famous Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer series of short subjects. In just a moment, you will hear Horseshoes Are for Luck, starring Neil Hamilton. Now, Crime Does Not Pay, starring Neil Hamilton as Mitch the Smoothie Daniels in Horseshoes Are for Luck. The geography of a certain city is most important to this story. You see, a river winds through this city, dividing it into extremely unequal parts. Now, the smaller part was ruled, at least with respect to gambling and the numbers racket, by an organization known as the Gopher Boys, headed by one Tenor Burke. The larger part of the city was divided into two approximately equal paths, ruled respectively by the Mermaid Street Gang, led by Jackie Piper, and the State Street outfit, led by Mitch the Smoothie Daniels. Smoothie Daniels was so called because of his impeccable exterior and his equally impeccable grammar. The latter a true mark of distinction in the world where Smoothie lived. A world peopled by young men such as Smoothie's right hand, Joey the Dip.
The way kick them in, boss. Joey, I've asked you so many times. Try to speak properly, even if you consider it out of character, so to speak. Whom might I want in here? Jackie Piper, boss. Mr. Piper informs me he has with you an appointment. All right, Joey. Admit Mr. Piper, please. That's your boss. Okay, Mr. Piper, the boss will see you.
That's good news. Hiya, Smoothie.
Well, happy to see you, Jackie. Sit down. All right, Joey.
You don't want I should stick around?
Outside, Joey.
Okay, boss. You say so. Well, Smoothie?
You're looking well, Jackie. Business been good?
Yeah, good enough.
But it could be better?
Yeah, could be.
How would you like to make it better?
Keep talking, Mitch.
I've been doing a little thinking, Jack, and a little arithmetic.
I'm listening.
It occurs to me that a given sum divided into three parts means three slices of a certain size. The same sum divided into two parts means two slices of a larger size.
I can't argue with that.
The returns from gambling on numbers in this town are about as high as they'll ever be.
Right. Go on.
That's the given sum I was discussing.
And three slices are you, me, and Tenor Burke, huh?
Precisely.
How do you figure we'll cut 3 down to 2?
You answered your own question, Jackie. You said we.
It makes sense. But Tenor's smart. So's his outfit.
So are we?
Got a plan?
It involves a dinner party, Jackie, and a horseshoe table.
And we sit on the ends and the gophers in the center.
Precisely.
Well, they come to a party like that.
I have a place. Matter of fact, I own it. Out on the Shore Road. Excellent cuisine. I'll issue the invitations. I may even have to hint to Tenor that things will happen to you. But you come.
You've earned your name, Nick. The Smoothie.
Is it a deal?
Name the date. We'll be there. One item. Who packed the artillery?
No one. All pieces checked at the door with hats and coats. Except, of course, for the operational weapons which I will have had placed ready for me just prior to our arrival. That's the plan, Tanner. Jackie thinks I'm after you. Quite simple.
Yeah, I suppose.
Oh? Something about it you don't like?
Oh, you're double-crossing.
Well, Jackie, slightly.
You call a dozen slugs a slight double-cross?
They won't bother him after it's over.
You might be working the gag on me.
Oh, come now, Tanner. In all our dealings over the years, have I ever crossed you?
Could always be a first time.
Tanner, remember when I moved in on the hot car racket?
Yeah, so what?
Who hijacked my cars?
Jackie did, but he settled what you called cash.
Cash is one thing. Pride is another. I haven't forgotten that deal. Tanner, I intend to exact payment in full. I think the time has come.
Why'd you wait so long?
Jackie trusts me now.
Oh,
I get it. Are you coming to the party, Tanner?
Let me know the date. I know the place. I'll be there with the Gophers.
Excellent. Shall we shake on that?
Ain't necessary. I said we'll be there, we'll be there.
Very well, as you wish, old man.
Hey, what's that for?
Just a slight protective device. Joey is the only one who can open the door. Except myself.
Yeah, boss?
Mr. Burke is just leaving, Joey.
Okay.
Right this way, Mr. Burke.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll see you that night, huh, Mitch?
Of course. Take care of yourself, Tanner.
I always have up to now. I expect to keep on.
Well, Joey, we're all set. He gets the whole bait. Hook, line, and sinker. He'll be there. Jackie will be there. And their boys.
And so will we.
Yes, indeed. So will we, Joey. So will we. Gentlemen, the hour is growing late. May I propose a toast?
Nothing in the street, bitch. Why not? Only why you gotta talk first, huh?
One thing I never do, Smoothie, I never mix talk with liquor. So you talk, me, I'll take the liquor.
Nevertheless, my friends, I give you this final toast for the horseshoe table, which has been the scene of our collation this evening. Horseshoes are for luck, my friends. Here's to this horseshoe, and to the luck we have in being friends.
I drink to that.
You think you like me, too?
Pardon me, Rocky. Excuse me now. Be up back in a moment, kiddo.
Now, Smoothie?
How did you know, Jackie?
I ain't as drunk as I look. Good luck, Smoothie. Give me the high sign so I can duck, huh?
Sorry, if you let me through, boys. Thank you. Thanks, fellow.
Hey, Mitch, you got a sense of humor.
Good luck. Watch it, Tanner. Jackie's looking this way.
He can't see nothing. He's blind.
Would you pull in your chair just a slice there? Thank you. Sorry, boys, but I have to get through here. All clear, boss. Even the chef's gone home, like you said. Good, Joey. Our old boys? They all left the room, so they're out of the line of fire. Perfect. Now lay low yourself until the job is finished. Check. Right under the table. And the chopper's in the fiddle case, back of the curtain, like you said. Full drum, too. Excellent. Car's outside. Gimpy's got the engine running. Waiter, what are you doing here?
I'm a waiter for you, Mr. Daniels. I'm a Tony Terrell.
All the waiters were sent home an hour ago.
No, Mr. Daniels, what's the place? You know, get angry, huh? I have a big favor. You own this place. My brother, he's a little job. He's a salad man. He's a very good salad man.
This doesn't beat the racket. One for the bird. Now beat it. See the manager tomorrow. Go on now.
But you don't understand, Mr. Daniels.
Out of my way, Torello. You might get hurt. This is no fiddle in this case.
I'm a sweetheart to Mr. Daniels. Mr. Daniels, what are you doing? Oh, there is your friends. I'm hearing you say yourself it's a horseshoe table. It's a horseshoe for a luck.
Luck? Brave, Torello, and you haven't got any. Or you'll be out of here by now.
Don't shoot, Mr. Daniels. Not your friend. Please, don't shoot.
Hold everything, fellas. I've got a surprise for you.
Well. Not pretty, man. But worth it. Not so funny, Joey.
Oh, you should have seen it from here, boss. When the way to come out of those curtains running like a scared rabbit, oh, brother. And the look on Jackie's face just before the slugs cut him down. Honest, boss, it was a circus.
Well, no doubt. It'll be a circus for us, too, if we don't get out of here. Everybody dead?
Nobody moving. I checked them all. Let's match it. Oh, you're sure great with that chopper, boss.
Perfect. Split the cake, must we? Not anymore, Joe. From now on, it's all ours. Let's go. It was a wonderful party.
Who is it? Right.
All right, Joe, what's happening?
You ain't gonna like this, boss.
You pick up Gimpy? Rocky, maybe?
Our boys are out of town, like you told.
Then what?
Here. It's in the paper. All of them.
Stop talking in riddles, Joey.
Read it. It's all there. I don't even want to think about it.
District Attorney promises swift indictment of gang leader Mitch Daniels for murder. What?
Go on. That crazy waiter, boss. The one come running out of the curtain.
The only survivor of the recent gang massacre is an eyewitness, one Tony Torello. Escaped murderous machine gun by Daniels, dove under table, buried under bodies, left for oh, lovely.
Just beautiful. One of the bump breaks, boss. That little...
You told me they were all dead. You told me.
Hey, look, boss, honest. He must have passed out. I could have sworn he wasn't breathing.
Never mind. Too late. No time to waste over what's been done.
Well, what now, boss?
Now? We've got to get out of town and quick.
On the lam, boss?
Yeah. Trying to arrest somebody they can't find. And the indictment hasn't been handed down yet. We have to travel, Joey. But when it all quiets down, we'll be back. And then goodbye, Tony Torello.
In just a moment, Crime Does Not Pay will continue with Horseshoes Are for Luck. Now, we continue with Crime Does Not Pay, starring Neil Hamilton as Mitch the Smoothie Daniels in Horseshoes Are for Luck. Mitch the Smoothie made his plans in his various hideouts. But such plans are subject to change without very much notice and to great delays. In Mitch's case, the delay was considerably longer than he'd expected. It stretched over years, in fact, due to the vigilance of district attorneys who refused to let the murder indictment gather dust in pigeonholes. So the years passed. Then, at long last, word came to Mitch's hideout. The police guard had been withdrawn from Tony Torello. The case was consigned, apparently, to oblivion. That was when Mitch made his move.
Joey, how would you like to tap the old kill?
Me, boss?
I think you're entitled to a share, Joey. You stayed with me. Been loyal good many years.
Well, thanks, boss. Nice of you to say that.
Meaning, I suppose, it's easy for me to talk when the till I speak of is back home.
Well, yeah, if you want to put it that way.
Suppose I said I think it's high time we went back.
What, boss? You want to burn?
No one's going to burn, Joey. That's a pretty old indictment by now, just about forgotten.
Well, a killing is a killer.
I know. There's no statute of limitations on murder. But an indictment is no good if the witnesses aren't available.
The Torello character is still living, eh?
But no more police protection.
I begin to catch, boss.
I've made a plan, Joey, my friend. It's detailed and a little complicated. But there's too neat a sum of money hidden away back home, and the pickings hereabouts are too slim. Are you with me, Joey?
I'm with you. And I always with you.
My apologies, Joey. I shouldn't have asked that. Now then, this is it. You're going back first. Now, Mr. Torello doesn't know you. You're not named in the indictment. So far, so good. There'll be no killing, understand? Anything like that, and the police will swarm again. Our Mr. Torello will merely disappear. Understand? He will merely disappear. And this is how you go about accomplishing that.
What do you want, Shrimp? I'm looking for the bosun of this ship. A fellow called Lovejoy, Matt Lovejoy.
You're talking to him.
I'm Joey the Dip. He was told I was coming.
Okay, you're here. Stop talking.
I got $1,000 for you.
I said 1,500.
$1,000.
No deal.
$12.50 as high as I can go.
Sold.
Okay. I'll deliver the night you sail. 3 days out, you know what to do. You're Torello?
Who are you? What do you want to Tony Torello?
Let's take a walk, wise guy.
I'm no walk. I walk all the night with a tray. Now I'm asleep.
Only as far as my car. You can sleep in the car. On the way to the waterfront.
I'm no go to...
I ain't supposed to let you have it, but you'll get it sure if you don't walk. Now down the stoop, Torello. March, fast.
Lovejoy, up the gangway.
He's heavy. I had to conk him. He tried to holler.
All right, bring him here. He's only a little guy. What's the matter, Slim? You weak or something?
This monkey's heavier than you think.
Where's the dough?
My jacket envelope.
Okay, I've got it. All right, follow me. There's a rope locker for it. You can dump him there. Yeah. We'll sail with the tide.
Hello.
It's Joey, boss.
Well?
I called station to station like you said.
Never mind that. What about Torello?
Mr. Torello is going to sea, boss. Just about now.
How much?
$12.50.
Good. I expected you might have to spend the whole $1,500.
You know me, boss. Penny saved. Anyhow, I'm a partner now.
Why, so you are, Joey, so you are. I trust Mr. Torello has a comfortable berth.
First class, yeah. In a rope locker. Only one class on a freighter, like in them travel ads. Say, can we go around the world, boss?
What for, Joey?
I always wanted to see that place, Tahiti or something they call it.
Well, we might, Joey. We just might. Once I open a certain safe deposit box. But before that's possible, we have a certain matter to clear up, don't we, Joey?
We're all set now, boss. Oh, we will be in 3 days.
Check. Reserve a room for me at our old hotel, Joey. I'll be back in exactly 3 days. Joey, dial this number, will you please?
Sure, boss.
The gentleman on the other end is going to be rather surprised. Who is it? You'll hear. Just mention my name when he answers.
Gotcha. Hello?
One moment, please. Mr. Mitchell Daniels calling.
What? Who?
Oh, yes, boss. Sounds surprised. Thank you, Joey. Hello. This the district attorney?
You know, this is my private number, Daniels. Don't know how you found it.
Oh, I have ways still, as you see.
I want to see you. Will you come in, or do I have to send for you?
Oh, I'll be down. I'm merely calling for an appointment.
Very sure of yourself, aren't you, Daniels?
I'm sure I want an immediate trial under the old indictment. Or I want the indictment quashed. Shall we talk it over? You and I, say at 11 in the morning?
11 tomorrow? A pleasure. Real pleasure. My staff and I are looking forward to meeting you. I trust the pleasure will be mutual.
Well, apparently the welcome mat will be out, Joey. Apparently the welcome mat will be out.
Yes, Mr. Daniels. Come in. Sit down.
You can wait outside, Joey.
Of course not, Daniels. Let him stay right here. We have nothing to hide.
It's all right with you. Okay, Joey.
Check, boss. Sit down, Daniels.
Not necessary. What I have to say won't take that long.
You never can tell.
I can tell. You're the district attorney. I want a trial or the indictment thrown out.
I see. Go on.
That's all. Now it's your turn.
On what grounds would you have me quash the indictment? You have no witnesses. You can't get a conviction without a witness. Meaning Torello? Oh, perhaps. Your friend Joe here might be persuaded to talk. I don't know nothing. He might refresh your memory. I wouldn't try anything. Joey and I both had our pictures taken yesterday. My lawyer has them. Any marks will show. Well, you've thought of everything, haven't you? I believe I have. Move. You know, Daniel, it's strange about people. What, their philosophy? In a way. Sometimes people will take anything, connive at nearly anything. And then they reach a point, usually where someone rather like themselves is being pushed around for no good reason, and they stop. They change course in midstream and fight back. A pretty speech. Very pretty. Sort of sounds very fine. Make an excellent impression when you run for governor. I may do just that, Daniels, after I've convicted you. All right, you can come in now. Crosses, the double crosses. The big guy crosses. Be quiet. Well, Mr. Torello?
What's the sir? That's Mr. Daniels asking him close, like now, with a machine gun.
And Mr. Lovejoy? Hey, that's a little rascal. Delivered Tony here like a sack of potatoes for the galley. I didn't like him then, I like him less now. Thank you, Mr. Lovejoy. Mr. Daniels, you're strangely silent. No more smooth talk, no bluster. My lawyer will speak for me. You'll never get a conviction, you know. Won't I? With Mr. Torello to tell his story and with Mr. Lovejoy to tell his? Mr. Lovejoy, will you tell Daniels and his pal here what you told me about why you left the ship with Mr. Torello instead of dumping him overboard 3 days out? Well, sir, I couldn't see no reason why a little fellow like Torello should get bumped for a couple of bums like these two, that's all. I never intended to dump him anyhow. Just put him ashore when he got to the other side. But here's a little guy. All he wanted to do was to get back to his house and be left alone. So that's okay with me. Maybe that's what I want, too. And when a louse like this Dick throws him around and beats him up and wants him to be bumped, I don't like it. Who do these guys think they are, anyhow? So I told the mate and walked off the ship with Tony. That dirty double-cross.
Leave my friend the master alone, you hear?
Never mind, Joey. Anything else, Mr. D.A., before Joey and I take up residence here? No, for the present, that'll be all. Nice of you both to come in voluntarily. But you rather underrated us, didn't you? Underrated whom? Why, Mr. Torello and Mr. Lovejoy, of course. Who else?
Crime does not pay. Neil Hamilton, who was starred as Mix the Smoothie Daniels in Horseshoes Are for Luck, will be back with you in just a moment. Now here in person is Neil Hamilton.
I'd like you to think back for just a moment to the motive for the machine gun killings of which Mitch the Smoothie was guilty. What was that motive? Control of the gambling and numbers racket in the district where Mitch and his gang waged their particular kind of warfare. Now then, who made those rackets so profitable that men like Mitch wanted to control them? The shoe fits, doesn't it? People like you and me. Exactly. It follows, then, that if we refuse the lure of gambling, of that kind of easy money, if we refuse to support crime and criminals ourselves, the cost of government, of police, of prisons and courts, would be far, far less. And it follows directly from that for ourselves, as well as for the criminals, in the end, crime does not pay.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Crime Does Not Pay is written by Ira Marion and directed by Mark D. Loeb, with music composed and conducted by John Gart. Technical advisor is Burton B. Turtis. The events, characters, and names used in the story you've just heard are fictitious. Any similarity is purely coincidental.